Our story begins on a dark night with a full moon shining over a castle as the name Ravis Bindika is called out. The scene then reveals the aftermath of a great battle with figures scattered across the ground. He looks down at one of the figures, calling him a complete disgrace. Lying on the ground, a survivor asks if he thinks he can get away with all this. Ravis reveals that the Hilt family was responsible, asking if they thought he knew nothing. With a blood-covered hand, he says this wasn't a takedown but an execution. Hearing this, the wounded man becomes completely shocked and furious with him. The horned demon then uses his power to finish off the last survivor, who screams in pain. With that, a yellow flame consumes the man's body on the ground, putting an end to him. Shifting scene, someone from above yells at Ravis, calling him a fool who doesn't know his place. This person then says they asked for evidence of betrayal and never ordered an elimination. He continues, saying that the boy Bindika dared to disrupt the order of the demon realm. It's then revealed that the speaker is Gamidare Bindika, the demon king and the young man's father. Ravis, now in chains, replies that there was evidence everywhere against the Hilt family. He continues, saying that because of old-timers protecting that family, they couldn't be punished. Outraged, he asks how many crimes were overlooked because of all this protection. We then see some hooded judges who seem to be observing the entire discussion. A close focuses on a woman in dark glasses, who appears to be one of the observers. The Demon King states that executions have procedures and that they don't need Ravis's judgment. The protagonist then smirks and says that darkness is swallowed by an even greater darkness. The Demon King just stares at him in silence with a look of pure anger and disappointment. Ravis then shouts that his father can't handle the corruption and questions his title as king. He continues, saying his father knows very well that the kingdom's order is influenced by the nobles. At this, the king just calls him a fool and says his thoughts are too rash. The young man argues that his family would only survive if the Hilts were eliminated. Next, the scene focuses on the judges, who are called cowards for hiding and ignoring the order. Gamudare remains silent, just watching his chained son on the hall floor. The Demon King then closes his eyes and sighs, saying there's no way to talk to the boy. One of the judges announces that the decision on the punishment has been made by the 12 seats. Then his father yells that for violating the laws, he will be banished to the human realm. Hearing this, the boy is completely shocked and wonders about the human realm. In disbelief, Ravis looks at his father and asks if he's really serious about this. The king then turns away and tells him to pay for his sins in the human world with his powers sealed. The horned demon struggles against his chains, yelling that he didn't harm anyone's soul. Ignoring his son's cries, the king orders the sentence to be carried out immediately. The mages then begin a spell while Ravis screams that he doesn't accept the punishment. The camera focuses on one of the mages, whose hands are glowing with purple energy. The spell hits the young man head-on, who screams in pain from the magic's power in his body. One of the mages approaches and calls him a shameful prince while taunting him. It's revealed to be the same woman in glasses, who smiles, saying she'll take good care of the place. Ravis screams in pain as a purple energy completely envelopes him, sealing his powers. A screen then shows his sentence and the 3 rules he must follow in the human world. If any of these rules are broken, his soul will be completely undone forever. Suddenly, the boy wakes up in a human body, screaming and very frightened by the situation. He sits up in bed and looks around, completely confused by the new environment. At that moment, the boy looks at his hands and realizes they are no longer the claws of a demon. His human hands grip the sheet tightly as he tries to understand the change. The demon then grinds his teeth in anger for being imprisoned in this way. With a hand on his head, he curses, realizing he really has fallen into the human realm. He remembers the mage Bambi and promises to tear off her horns when he returns. But he wonders why this new human body ages so much everywhere. The protagonist moves a little and feels the weakness of the body he now inhabits. Standing, he looks at his hands again and questions if he's trapped in this weak body. Still in the room, he thinks about how useless the Hilt family was until the very end. Ravis complains that it's even hard to breathe and wonders if there's any sulfur nearby. Just then, he hears a noise and realizes someone is peeking at him from the bedroom door. A girl calls him bro, and he turns around, not understanding anything that's happening. The young woman then appears, crying with relief, and asks if he's finally awake. She runs and hugs him tightly, saying she thought he would never wake up again. While being hugged, Ravis wonders who this girl is, and if she's a relative of the body's owner. At that moment, a woman appears at the door and calls out the name of the body Ravis is possessing. The woman cries with relief and thanks him for waking up, saying he must have suffered a lot. Still being hugged by the girl, the demon wonders what he should do in a situation like this. He then remembers that the human realm is one of the 3 great hells and questions if he can live there. While he's thinking, footsteps can be heard approaching the boy's room. A man in glasses then appears next to the woman and says coldly that he noticed he woke up. The woman tells the man that the boy just woke up, and now the human family is gathered. The man and Ravis then exchange glances for a moment in a very uncomfortable silence. His human father tells him to go to school, since he was in bed for 1 week and has a lot to catch up on. The mother tries to argue, but the man tells her to be quiet, and they both leave the room together. The girl who hugged him earlier then asks if he's okay, but the protagonist remains silent. The young man thinks about the couple who just left and how cold and direct the man was. With a strange smile, he thinks that he liked that human for his attitude. He continues to think that even here, there's a human who looks like a real demon. But he soon becomes serious and decides he needs to be cautious until the body's memories return. The scene changes to the front of a school, and the body's mother announces they've reached their destination. Getting out of the car, she tells him to call if he doesn't feel well, and the young man just nods. She watches him with a very worried look as he prepares to enter the school. Walking towards the entrance, he thinks that he attended a school in the demon realm 600 years ago. The demon then complains that coming to a human school at his age is basically hell. He then remembers that the human realm is the real hell, and this confirms his suspicions. Arriving at his classroom, he sees the sign that indicates Class 2-3 in the hallway. He enters the room, thinking that humans are weak because they don't even live for 100 years. So he decides to stay quiet so his soul won't be undone for breaking the rules. The young man thinks he bought himself some time by dealing with the Hilts and that he just needs to go back and inherit the throne. He needs to do this before his royal family, the Bindika, is in danger again in the future. Suddenly, two guys approach, and one of them calls him Minho, saying he hasn't seen him in a while. The demon prince turns around with a cold stare, wondering what those two want with him. The bully then grabs him and asks if he brought the monthly fee money he owed. Startled, the protagonist realizes his new human body reacted on its own to the aggressor's touch. Just then, a memory surfaces, showing that the previous owner of the body used to get pushed around by these guys a lot. One of the aggressors appears with a malicious smile, watching him with ill intent. The other bully also laughs cruelly, remembering the past aggressions he committed. The memory shows the boy on the floor, crying heavily while being mercilessly targeted. With this memory, he finally starts to understand why his body acts so much when he woke up. Louis then realizes the pain he felt was because of these darn school bullies. The aggressor puts a hand on his head and asks why he's so scared, calling him pathetic. The guy continues, saying they should greet each other and asks for the membership fee as a sign of friendship. The demon prince wonders if this human is actually daring to lay a hand on him right now. He remembers a class in the demon realm where a teacher was explaining about humans. In the memory, the demon students find humans vulgar and smelly for not having horns. The master says that humans are vulgar beings who do anything to hide their weaknesses. She continues explaining that they are a foolish species that adores both demons and angels at the same time. Young Ravis, watching the class, says with a smile that such stupid things should be burned. The teacher then agrees with the prince's opinion and demonstrates a bit of her magic in the classroom. She then orders the students to crush the vulgarity of any human they encounter. Back in the present, Louis becomes furious, wondering how a mere human dares to touch him. The aggressor continues to fiddle with his phone, not noticing the fury in the protagonist's eyes. With a swift movement, the demon prince grabs the hand of the bully who is holding him. Louis forcefully slams the guy's head onto the table, yelling that humans really are fools. The other bully is shocked by the scene and shouts for the protagonist to let his friend go immediately. Outraged, he keeps shouting and asks if the boy has suddenly gone completely crazy. At that moment, the demon's eye glows and he realizes his magical power just reacted. The brute shouts that he's lost his mind after coming back from the brink and asks if he wants to get hurt. Filled with rage, the bully prepares to land a strong punch right on the young man's face. The demon prince realizes that the human's curses are stimulating his magical power. He then understands there is a direct link between magical power and human curses. With this, the boy dodges the punch and lands a powerful kick right on the aggressor's face. The bully flies into the classroom lockers and falls to the ground, completely defeated by the blow. The other students in the class are left with their mouths wide open, unable to believe what they just witnessed. The boy questions himself, as his magical power should be completely sealed in the human realm. Even in a human body, he realizes his power reacts to the evil around him. One of the students with glasses is shocked and asks if that's really the Minho he knew. The other bully grabs a chair and yells that he's going to finish him for daring to stand up to him. Seeing this, the boy with glasses desperately shouts for Minho to be very careful with the attack. But the demon prince doesn't even flinch and just watches the chair coming towards him. He then lands a quick blow to the aggressor's stomach, who spits and flies backward from the force. The bully falls to his knees, coughing heavily and wondering how that happened. On the ground, he curses the protagonist, calling him a worthless, weak wretch. Louis then asks if cursing makes him feel strong, because humans become vulgar out of weakness. And without giving time for an answer, the boy lands a powerful kick to the aggressor's face. The blow is so strong that the bully flies backward and falls to the ground completely knocked out. At this, Louis remembers that the source of human curses is actually his own mother. The second bully is now lying on the floor, unconscious after being completely defeated. The students comment that Minho defeated the two bullies and wonder what happened to him. The demon prince then remembers his father's words before being banished from the kingdom. With a wicked smile, he thinks that his father told him to live quietly and then leave. Then the young man turns to the rest of the classroom and gets everyone's attention. With a dark aura, he asks if anyone else there would like to curse him too. The students are terrified and wonder if that's really the Minho they knew. His bespectacled classmate wonders in shock if the young man was always that strong. He then approaches the protagonist, with the two bullies still lying on the classroom floor. With a worried expression, he asks if Minho is okay after all the commotion. The demon prince gives a slight smile as he watches the boy in front of him approaching. He then remembers that this human tried to help him a little earlier during the fight. With a wicked smile, he thinks the boy is perfect to be his servant and says that he's fine. Outside the school, the boy with glasses praises the protagonist for winning all by himself. The friend asks if he was reincarnated from another world, and Louis gets scared, thinking he's been found out. The boy continues excitedly, asking if he came from Miram or from inside some famous game. The demon prince thinks that if this servant has already figured out his identity, he needs to be careful. He then remembers one of the rules he received, where he couldn't take out any human. The demon accompanying him says he shouldn't treat human life lightly. He explains that this is because they are the gods who preside over life's end in the universe. Young Ravis then replies that he heard humans live busy lives trying to take each other out. His companion agrees that they are foolish and says that's exactly why demons exist. The demon prince just stares at him with an expression of pure boredom, not caring much. The demon repeats the rule, but Ravis says he is a king and has no reason to go to the human world. Back in the present, Louis wonders how he's going to silence humans if he can't take them out. The friend then sighs and says it would be really cool if reincarnation were real. With a dreamy look, he confesses that his greatest wish was to be able to wake up in another world. The protagonist can smell a miserable pain coming from the boy beside him. As they walk, the friend says he knows that reincarnation and things like that don't make much sense. He continues, saying he knows how much the young man put up with before exploding, and Louis thinks he hasn't been discovered. With a smile, the boy praises the demon, saying he was really incredible in the fight earlier. Louis makes a disgusted face, feeling offended for receiving praise from a simple human. Changing scenes, night falls, showing the building where the protagonist now lives. In his room, he thinks that the demonic energy was activated because of the human's curses. He then looks at his hand, which glows with purple energy, and wonders what could have happened. The demon falls silent for a moment with a serious and thoughtful look on his face. With a satisfied smile, the boy thinks that everything happened exactly as expected. He then boosts, thinking that there are truly no limits for Ravis Bindika, the demon prince. But suddenly, the young man feels a sudden and very strong pain all over his human body. He screams in pain and grabs his shoulder as his whole body begins to tremble uncontrollably. The pain is so intense that even a potted plant in the room seems to shake along with him. Lying on the bed, he realizes this body is too weak to handle his demonic energy. With his face covered in a cold sweat, he complains that living as a human for just one day is agonizing. The young man grinds his teeth and yells that with all this pain, he won't be able to sleep at all. But soon after, the boy passes out completely on the bed and starts snoring very loudly. With that, the night passes, and a new day begins to dawn on the horizon of the human city. The afternoon sun shines over the school, and students begin to head home. The bespectacled friend thanks Louis because, thanks to him, no one bothered them during the day. But the demon replies that he prefers to fight because he wants to test his demonic energy more. Just then, a new group of bullies appears, and one of them calls for Jung Minho in the schoolyard. The demon prince then turns to them, not understanding why he's being called out so suddenly. The group leader asks with a smile if he was the one who messed with his younger brother. He continues, saying he protected them in exchange for fees and asks how they dare to repay him like this. Hearing the threat, the boy with glasses becomes completely terrified by the new problem. Louis gets excited about more curses and confirms that he was the one who went after the guy's brother. The bully tells him to follow, and the young man happily agrees while his friend panics. The scene then changes to an alley where the older aggressor is talking to the brother who got roughed up. He scolds him for getting pushed around by a weakling, but the boy just apologizes to his brother. The bully then turns to Louis and asks what he should do about the situation. He approaches and says he'll look like a bad brother if he doesn't take care of his younger sibling, and just lets it go. The brute then pokes the demon's forehead and asks if it was his mother who taught him to be this way. He continues asking if his mother taught him to go after his good friends like that. With a dark smile, the demon prince replies that yes, it was exactly her who taught him. Surprised, the aggressor gets angry and calls him a brat because of the cheeky response. Then he raises his hand to attack and wonders if the boy is laughing at him. With a swift movement, the demon stops the punch using just one hand, leaving the bully in shock. His eye glows, and he thinks that curses reminding him of his mother are always pleasant. With a confident smile, the demon tightens his grip on the wrist of the bully who is threatening him. The aggressor screams in pain, not understanding what's happening while his friends just watch. Louis then remembers his mother who allowed the human tongue to carry deadly venom. With a powerful knee strike, he hits the bully's face, who screams from the impact of the blow. At this, the boy remembers another one of the teachings he received from his mother in the past. She said that violence only binds the flesh but cannot completely affect the soul. But a rotten voice devours the soul, and these wretches desperately call him to combat. The aggressor's younger brother is shocked to see the scene and shouts, calling him a wretch. The protagonist's bespectacled friend is also completely terrified by the violence. Lying on the ground, the bully yells for his friends not to just stand there and to help him take Louis down. The demon then notices that they are now ganging up on him but doesn't seem to care. With his eye glowing red, he thinks the situation just got even better for him. Louis charges at the group because a greater power accumulates against an even greater evil. With swift and precise movements, the demon dodges the attacks and counterattacks without mercy. In the background, the bespectacled friend screams desperately as he watches the brutal fight unfold. The fight is so intense that the sound of the blows echoes throughout the alley where they are fighting. After a while, the demon prince relaxes his hand as the fight finally comes to an end. The young man then lets out a tired sigh as he observes the outcome of his battle. With all the aggressors on the ground, he says the feeling was very refreshing for him. At this, he remembers his uncle who gifted humans with violence and understands the reason. The bespectacled friend is shocked by the scene and calls for Minho while the demon thanks his uncle. With a confident smile on his face, the protagonist notices something moving in the dark alley. Just then, a small rat with bright red eyes emerges from a hole in the brick wall. Suddenly, the animal's eyes begin to glow with a very intense and sinister red energy. The scene changes and Lewis says the ordered task was successfully carried out by him. A voice then calls him a cute nephew as a hooded figure watches everything from a distance. Next, the scene shows a foot stepping hard on the head of a strange bluish creature. It's revealed that the voice belongs to the boy's uncle, who asks if he liked the gift he received. The hooded person then reveals that she placed a blood mana stone in his eye, not a taboo. With a smile, the woman wonders how long Ravis will be able to endure this situation. Back in the human world, the demon just smiles with satisfaction as the sun sets in the background. Shifting to the demon realm, a malevolent laugh echoes over the royal family's castle. The laugh belongs to the uncle, who comments that his nephew Ravis really did wipe out the entire Hilt family. The woman with glasses then says the demon prince always does whatever he wants to be satisfied. The uncle wonders who can break his stubbornness and calls Gamidare a heartless being. The young woman replies that submission through power is the only way to deal with someone as malicious as Ravis. The older demon says it won't be easy for his nephew to adapt to the human realm. At this, he remembers a young Ravis asking for help while he just completely ignored him. The mage then asks if that's why he gave the young man the bloodstone as a gift. Suddenly, another demon prepares for a ritual and announces he will manifest the sinners. With a wicked smile, the uncle orders Bambi to show him the sinners of the realm. The mage then uses her magic and a purple energy begins to emanate from her hands. A portal opens and she says that since Ravis has descended to the human realm, he will inevitably have to face all the demons that appear in the vision. With that, the uncle rises from his stone throne with a very determined look. He then extends his hand and begins to manipulate all the dark energy of the portal. The energy of the two demons combines, creating an even more powerful spell than before. The uncle just watches the large portal of purple energy form in front of him. In the human world, Lewis seems to feel something, and his uncle says he's looking forward to seeing it. The older demon then warns that his nephew is about to feel the darkness. The scene changes, and the bespectacled friend wonders how he defeated Tiwu's brother so easily. Excited, he continues, saying the fight was really cool and looked like a movie scene. The prince eats something spicy and denies crying, saying it's just sweat from his eyes. The friend says they should have picked the beginner level, but Lewis says he doesn't avoid hell. Suddenly, the bespectacled boy's phone starts ringing on the diner table. Seeing the name Jinjae on the screen, the boy becomes completely terrified by the call. The demon then asks what happened and why he isn't answering the phone. Stammering, the friend replies that he just received a very urgent call. He then says goodbye and tells the protagonist to enjoy the food because he has to leave. But as he leaves, the boy looks back with a very worried expression for his friend. Alone at the table, the demon just continues eating in silence after his friend's departure. The scene then shifts to a dark and gloomy alley in another part of the city at night. Next, the camera focuses on a metal door that leads to a very suspicious place. Inside, a person holds a strange machine that seems to be used for marking skin. A woman then warns a guy not to move because he might end up getting hurt. She complains that he should have paid the money and now has only given her more work. With a satisfied smile, the tattoo artist says she has finally finished the job with the boy. She compliments his skin and says the mark looks very well done on the man's face. At that moment, a brute enters and tells Jay that he brought who she asked for. And to everyone's surprise, the one who appears is Lewis's bespectacled friend, trembling with fear. The woman asks why he took so long and invites him to take a look at the work. A bright light then illuminates the place, and the scene focuses on the terrified boy's face. She grabs his face forcefully and orders him to open his eyes wide to see up close. The young woman points to the man lying down and asks if he knows the meaning of that mark. Without giving time for a response, she reveals the tattoo means he is a thief. The tattoo artist continues, saying the guy was punished because he didn't pay the money he owed. With a dark aura, she asks Lim San how the promise they made is going. The boy with glasses is speechless and just stammers, trying to find an answer. Terrified, he says that some bugs keep showing up and getting in his way. At this, the woman throws him to the ground forcefully and asks if he thinks this is a joke. The woman complains that he doesn't understand what she's saying, while her henchmen hold him tightly. Just then, the henchmen grab him even tighter, and the boy screams desperately in pain and fear. With the machine in her hand, she threatens him and asks if she needs to mark him so he can understand. Completely terrified by the threat, the boy shouts that she doesn't need to do that to him. The tattoo artist then warns that this is the last chance she's giving the young boy. With a scary smile, she gets closer and tells Lim San to listen very carefully. She then points to the unconscious man and asks if he wants to end up lying there too. Then the woman orders him to do exactly as she said and get everything ready soon. With it, the night progresses, and the stars shine brightly in the dark city sky. In his room, Louis's friend is sitting in front of the computer, working very hard. With his hands on the keyboard, he wonders if he can really finish what he's doing right now. The young man then clenches his fists tightly, showing all his anger and frustration at that moment. But he knows that if he doesn't do it, he will do something terrible to him later. Frightened by the threat, the boy decides to continue working on the computer all night. The scene then shifts to the building where the protagonist is currently living in the city. In bed, the demon feels a sharp pain in his stomach and wonders if this is resistance. He complains that his shoulder feels like it's going to pop out of place because of a small fight. Filled with rage, the demon prince throws his shirt away and curses his weak human body. Then he says that Ravis Bindika will not break down over something so small. The young man continues his exercises, promising he will rehabilitate this piece of junk body at all costs. Shouting with all his might, the demon says that no pain will be able to make him surrender. After a night of intense training, a new day begins with a blue, cloudless sky. The scene then shifts to the front of the school, where students are starting to arrive for classes. In the hallway, the bespectacled friend observes a small device in his hand, looking worried. A close-up is given to the object, which appears to be some kind of remote control or activator. With the device in hand, the boy thinks fearfully about the application he needs to use. He continues to think that this application is too dangerous to be used at school. At this, he remembers the tattoo artist's words, telling him to get everything ready for the plan. The boy with glasses then suddenly gets a serious and determined expression on his face. Squeezing the device, he wonders what he should do in such a complicated situation. Suddenly, Lewis appears and startles him by placing a hand on his shoulder and calling his name. The demon prince asks what happened and why he got so scared all of a sudden. The friend just stares at him in silence for a moment with an expression of pure panic. At this, the boy wonders if he should ask Minho for help with his problem. But right after, he changes his mind and decides he can't involve his friend in this. He thinks that no matter how strong Minho is, it would be dangerous if he got involved with he. The boy then decides he can't let the protagonist get hurt because of him too. As the boy thinks, Lewis notices a familiar scent passing by them in the school hallway. The demon wonders where he has smelled that scent before, but a girl trips in front of him. Lying on the floor, the girl is called Song Yi while Lewis and his friend watch the scene. The bespectacled friend runs to help the fallen girl, asking if she's okay and to wake up. He holds her carefully and asks with concern if the young woman is sick or feeling unwell. Suddenly, the girl starts coughing a lot and seems to be in a very bad situation. Just then, a strange force throws him backward while the girl remains on the hallway floor. Louis's eye glows and he realizes it's demonic energy, wondering how a human has it. A bigger guy runs towards the girl, shouting her name and asking what happened. He puts her on his back and tells her to pull herself together as they decide to take her to the nurse's office. As they pass the protagonist, the girl's hair sways and Louis seems very surprised. Suddenly, he sees a strange tattoo on the girl's arm that looks like a family crest. The demon recognizes the hilt family symbol and wonders why it's on a human's body. With his eye glowing intensely, he decides he needs to investigate the situation up close. Changing scenes, night falls and shows the entrance of a large hospital in the human city. In the hallway, Luis walks towards a woman who is sitting and waiting outside. The woman stands up to leave, but the protagonist, wearing a hood, tells her to stop right there. He asks if she is Sungyi's friend, and the woman says she needs to rest without visitors. At this, the demon quickly approaches the woman, who is very surprised by his attitude. His eye glows, and with a dark aura, he tells the woman that he grants her forgetfulness. The woman's eyes turn white and glow with a pink energy after the demon's command. A red symbol then appears reflected in her eye as she is hypnotized by him. With that, the woman sits down again on the hallway chair, completely controlled by his power. Louis then enters the room while the woman remains seated, hypnotized. The demon thinks this level of power is possible with little energy and must be temporary. With this thought, he turns to the girl who is lying on the hospital bed. The young woman then notices the boy's presence in her room and looks at him with suspicion. Confused, the girl asks who he is and what he's doing inside her room. But the demon prince ignores her and asks the same question back, wanting to know who she really is. Annoyed by the response, the young woman yells and asks why he suddenly entered the room. Without giving time for more questions, the boy lunges forward and grabs the girl's arm very forcefully. The girl then screams in pain and curses the protagonist, not understanding what's happening. The demon just stares at her with a cold and determined look, not caring about her screams. He then lifts her arm and asks why a mere human has the hilt family symbol. Angrily, the young woman yells and asks what kind of nonsense he's talking about. The demon warns her that if she doesn't want to suffer, she'd better tell the whole truth right now. His eye glows, and with a cold voice, he demands to know the girl's true identity. Faced with the dark aura, the young woman becomes completely terrified and starts to sweat coldly in fear. Stammering in fear, the girl tries to answer, but the words can barely leave her mouth. At that moment, a vision appears, and she remembers a demon holding her and is in shock. Back in the present, the demon loses his patience and orders her to speak up at once. The young woman then says she knows nothing and that it was all because of a person named he. She explains that she needed the tattoo to join the team and get diet pills. Louis then notices a faint scent coming from the girl, and it seems very familiar to him. With his eye glowing, he is sure he has smelled that scent before in the demon realm. A memory surfaces where a voice calls for Ravis in a dark and gloomy castle corridor. The voice then asks where the young demon thinks he's going in that forbidden place. And it's revealed that the voice belongs to a green-haired demon who warns him that the area is restricted. The young prince just stares at the other demon with an expression of pure boredom and disinterest. With a teasing smile, he calls him Bambi and says he's just a big coward. Hearing this, the bespectacled demon becomes completely annoyed and embarrassed by the taunt. Ravis tells him to leave, but the other replies that he's not scared and just doesn't want to be punished. Bambi continues, saying he can't go because he knows the prince will get into trouble on his own. Reluctantly, the green-haired demon asks how far they intend to go in that dark place. With that, the two walk down a long, creepy corridor filled with old and broken things. Bambi then calls for Ravis and asks if he already knew anything about that place. The prince replies that he has no idea and tells his friend to just say what he wants to say. The bespectacled demon then begins to tell a story about eyes that transcend their species. Ravis continues walking as he hears that there are two ways they lose their sight. The first is if the light is strong and blinds them, or when they see nothing and their eyes atrophy. But suddenly, the demon prince interrupts him and tells him to be completely silent. With a finger to his lips, he warns his friend that there's something else there with them in the corridor. At that moment, a strange hand comes out of the wall holding a purple flower that glows in the darkness. Frightened by the hand, Bambi hides behind Ravis and asks what that strange thing is. The demon prince then decides to get closer to see better, and his friend warns that it's dangerous. The scene then focuses on the purple flower that glows with a sinister energy in the middle of the darkness. As they get closer, Bambi recognizes the body and asks if that isn't Jeremy from the Hilka family. Louis looks at the body on the floor and says the demon has been lifeless for a long time. A close-up is given to the demon's face with purple flowers covering his eyes and chest. But Ravis ignores his friend and tries to pick one of the flowers, which reveals its blood-filled roots. Holding the flower, the prince complains about the strong smell while Bambi is startled by the scene. The bespectacled demon is shocked as he seems to have finally recognized the mysterious plant. He then asks if that is the dreaded knowing flower that everyone in the kingdom knows very well. Back in the present, a sinister creature says he is very much looking forward to what will happen. The scene then shifts to a dark and gloomy alley somewhere in the human city at night. Alone, Louis walks through the alley, seeming to be looking for something specific. He then stops in front of a metal door and realizes that it's Jay, his tattoo studio. The boy thinks about the hilt crest and the knowing flower, wondering if it's all a coincidence. With that, the scene shifts to inside a building and shows an exit sign in a hallway. In the hallway, some guys ask why they're after Lim San, and another says it's because of the app. One of the guys in a blue shirt then shows an object and asks if they are going to use high tech. The object is revealed to be a blue tape developed by a guy named Young Moo. The friend warns him to take it easy because the side effects of that thing are very dangerous. The guy in blue doesn't care and says what matters is feeling good with the final result. Just then, Louis smells the same scent from before and sees the tattoo on the guy's neck with the Hilga crest. The friend then stares at the blonde with a serious expression while he seems to be enjoying the moment. Louis asks if they got their tattoos from Jae-hee, and the blonde wonders who that guy is. With a mocking smile, the aggressor approaches and asks if the protagonist is a friend of Jae-hee's. He then grabs the demon's chin and says the boy needs to show a little more respect. With that, the demon prince's eye glows with a red energy, and he prepares for the attack. With a swift movement, he grabs the guy's arms and throws him backward onto the floor with great force. The blonde and his friends are shocked to see the protagonist knock him down with a single blow. The aggressor is now lying on the floor, completely knocked out after the young man's surprise attack. Outraged, one of the guys yells at Louis, calling him a brat and asking who sent him there. Without giving time for response, the man lunges forward and tries to land a punch right on the demon's face. But the prince dodges with ease and lands a powerful blow to the head of the aggressor. Lying on the floor, the man screams in pain and curses the protagonist, calling him a complete madman. With two down, the rest of the gang prepares to attack Louis all at once in the hallway. One of the men then charges forward angrily and tries to land a strong punch on the protagonist's face. But the demon is faster and lands a devastating punch on the guy's nose, shattering it on the spot. With everyone on the ground, a final aggressor pulls out a knife and yells in anger as he charges. The man then runs towards the demon and yells for him to accept the blow of the sharp blade. But the demon prince dodges the attack with ease, and his eye glows with demonic power. With a powerful punch, he hits the aggressor's face, who screams in pain from the impact. And with the last enemy on the ground, the protagonist prepares to go after his main target. He then turns to one of the guys and coldly asks where this Jin Jae-hee is. Suddenly, the blonde gets up and with a strange look, tells the others to finish him off quickly. With a distorted face, he swears he will end the demon's life right there without mercy. Surprised, Louis realizes the man's demonic energy suddenly increased out of nowhere. The aggressor then charges at the protagonist with everything he has, screaming with pure rage and hatred. Louis notices his movements have changed and wonders if the drug has improved his abilities. With incredible speed, the guy stomps hard on the demon prince's leg, which was on the ground. The blow throws him backward, and the boy screams in pain from the force of the unexpected attack. Without giving him time to breathe, the aggressor jumps into the air to attack again with even more force. He then descends with a powerful punch aimed right at the demon's face, who is still down. But Louis looks at him with a serious and determined gaze, not seeming fazed by the imminent attack. His eye glows with power, and he grinds his teeth in anger at the situation he's gotten into. The scene then changes, and the night continues to be dark with stars shining in the human city sky. Elsewhere, the bespectacled friend apologizes because the application he was making is not yet ready. Lying on the sofa, the woman complains, saying he said the same thing last time. She then points to a tied-up guy and says they caught the one who stole the supply. The terrified man yells that he made a mistake and begs them to spare his life. He continues to plead for one more chance, swearing he won't mess up again if they forgive him. The woman and the purple-haired man just watch him in silence as he continues to beg. Without a word, the leader picks up the blue roses that were in a vase on the table. He then squeezes the flowers forcefully, and a strange liquid begins to drip from them. Seeing this, the prisoner becomes completely terrified and starts to tremble with pure fear. With his face full of tears, the man continues to beg the woman for mercy. Desperate, he screams and asks them not to do that to him under any circumstances. But the leader ignores him and raises his hand with the rose, which now glows with a purple energy. The man then uses the flower to punish the traitor, who screams desperately from the punishment. The prisoner cries out in pain as the leader continues the punishment without any mercy. The black-haired woman just watches the scene with an expression of shock and a little pity. The man continues to scream for help while the leader holds him tightly by the hair. The leader's hand then glows even more intensely with the purple energy from the blue flower. Screams of pain echo through the room as the man's punishment continues brutally. And more screams are heard as the traitor's punishment finally comes to an end. Lying on the floor, the man screams one last time before falling silent forever. The leader then warns everyone that there are no second chances for anyone there. He continues, saying he trusts that everyone present understands this rule well. The black-haired woman remains silent with a very worried expression on her face. The leader then turns to her and asks with a dark aura if she understood as well. With a threatening look, he tells the young woman to stop making excuses and bring what he asked for. Terrified, the young woman stammers and nods, saying she understood the message. The scene then changes, and the night continues dark and silent over the city's buildings. Outside, the woman thinks that if continues, she will also end up in a bad situation. Desperate, she takes out her phone and calls Lim San, shouting for him to answer the phone. Meanwhile, the bespectacled friend's phone rings and glows in the darkness of his room. The boy at the computer notices the call but seems to hesitate to answer. With a worried expression, he continues to stare at the device that keeps ringing on the table. Finally, the boy decides to pick up the phone to see who is calling him at that hour. With a trembling hand, the young man answers the phone, not knowing who is on the other end. The scene then returns to Lewis, who has taken the aggressor's phone and is now talking to Sign. With all the guys on the floor, he says the guys here don't seem to want to listen to him. Confused, the bespectacled friend asks what's happening and why he's calling. The demon prince then asks if his friend knows a woman named Jin Jae. He continues saying his friend answered her phone before, but that wasn't the case. Shocked, the boy asks how he knows about the woman and becomes terrified by the situation. Lewis explains that her name appeared on the screen and asks if he knows where she lives. The friend asks how he knows her and if her henchman caught him somehow. But the protagonist denies it, saying he was looking for her to check something at her shop. He continues the conversation on the phone with his friend, not noticing anything strange. But suddenly, a strange creature with glowing eyes appears on the stairs behind him. The friend screams desperately on the phone for Minho not to get involved and says he's on his way. Lewis is confused by the situation and just lets out "Oh" before the call ends. With a bored look, he lowers his phone, not caring much about his friend's warning. Just then, the creature watching him is revealed to be a white cat with large, yellow eyes. The animal seems very nervous about the demon's presence and starts to sweat coldly in fear. The protagonist then turns to the cat and calls it a simple, scared ball of fur. With a swift movement, the boy grabs the animal by the scruff of its neck, which becomes completely terrified. He asks if the creature understands him, but the cat just meows in response. With his eye glowing, the demon prince threatens it and tells it to make him understand at once. Terrified, the cat shouts that yes, it understood the young demon's message perfectly. The boy thinks that first it was a rat, then a bat, and now a cat has appeared. So he asks what that creature is exactly, and the animal starts to stammer in fear. The cat reveals it is a monitor from the demon realm, sent to the human world on a mission. Its task was to watch over the prisoners, which is why it was always keeping an eye on Lord Ravis. It doesn't know how it was noticed, and the demon says it stands out too much for a spy. Lewis points out that the cat is walking on two legs, and the creature panics at this. The young man says there's no point in asking more questions and decides to get straight to the point. With his eye glowing, he orders the creature's master to appear right now. At that moment, the cat's eye also glows with a strong, sinister red energy. The scene changes and Ravis's uncle says that was much faster than he expected. Lewis appears upside down and asks if Bambi figured everything out quickly and if this was his doing. Filled with rage, the young man asks what his uncle is planning this time in the demon realm. The uncle then laughs and plays dumb, asking what he did that was so wrong to his nephew. Annoyed by the response, the demon prince decides to forget it and just ask one important question. He says that things are different and asks if a prisoner can use demonic power. The cat then replies that there are exceptions to all the rules imposed on him. At this, his uncle says he will find out everything on his own and asks if he has any more questions. The young man thinks about the devouring flower and how its scent is very strong in this human world. He remembers when he held the flower and says that it's forbidden even in the demon realm. The uncle reveals that the demon realm knows the hilts have spread throughout the human world. Angrily, the boy asks if it's the hilts again and if the rest of them are in the human world. The uncle just stares at him with a very malicious smile on his face, saying absolutely nothing. He then says the human realm is no longer the same and has become a stage for conspiracies. With a wicked look, he suggests that since his nephew is there, he should just finish them all off. The cat repeats the message, and the demon prince is shocked by his uncle's suggestion. Bambi then asks through the cat for the young man to explain better what is happening. But suddenly, the creature seems to return to normal and starts meowing uncontrollably at him again. The protagonist just stares at the animal with an expression of pure anger and great suspicion. Looking at the city's night sky, he lets out a curse and anger at the whole situation. The scene then focuses on the city buildings as the night continues dark and silent. Elsewhere, he complains that time is essential and the person isn't answering the phone. Filled with rage, she wonders if Lim-san has gone crazy for not answering her phone. Annoyed, the woman says this whole situation is very tedious and continues to look at the device. On the screen, her call continues as she swears that Lim-san is going to have a very bad time with her. The scene shifts to a PC cafe where a guy answers Jae-hee's call in the middle of a game. The woman then orders him to go to the office because they are going to get that wretch Lim-san. The night continues dark and silent, with the stars shining brightly in the city sky. Back in the alley, the demon prince asks if the modder knows much about the human world. The cat explains that it receives updates and has good skills because it needs to visit prisoners. The young man then orders the creature to return to its original form, and the cat is very confused. With a threatening look, the demon asks if the cat wants him to help with the transformation. With the threat, the animal begins to transform, with a pink energy completely enveloping it. In the blink of an eye, the transformation is complete, revealing a blue-haired girl with horns. The young woman then lands gracefully in front of the protagonist after the change of form. Lewis stares at her with disinterest and thinks the girl seems too weak to help him. Sitting on the stairs, he says that Baby must have had a reason for sending her and asks for her name. The girl timidly replies that she doesn't have a name of her own, because she never received one. The demon then names her street, so she will never forget where she came from and who found her. With her eyes shining, the girl repeats her new name in a low voice, still processing everything. Very happy, the young woman thanks Lord Ravis for giving her a name for the first time. The demon prince orders the girl to tell him everything she knows about the human world, and she agrees. The scene then changes and shows the big city at night with its illuminated buildings. Elsewhere, the bespectacled friend runs desperately, out of breath and very worried about something. He thinks that Minho is in danger and regrets not having refused the proposal until the end. Just then, a memory surfaces where the boy was running happily with a prize and flowers in his hands. He couldn't believe he had won the third app challenge of the competition. With wide eyes, the young man named Lim-san could hardly believe his great victory. But suddenly Jae-hee and her gang appeared, asking if he was the developer who won. One of the henchmen then comments that the prize money was 50 million won. With a wicked smile, the woman says he is a precious asset and tells him to get in the car. Hearing the order, the boy becomes completely terrified by the situation he has gotten himself into. He screams in fear and ends up dropping the bouquet of flowers he was holding onto the dark ground. The scene then shows the boy with glasses already inside the van while the henchmen watch him. Inside, a purple-haired guy says it's just a transaction and tells him to look to the side. The boy then sees a briefcase with 50 million in cash, and they ask him to hand over the app. Terrified, the boy tries to argue, saying he didn't make the application to sell it. The purple-haired man just stares at him in silence with a cold and emotionless expression. With an intimidating look, he replies that this is just the young boy's opinion. With tears in his eyes, the boy with glasses lowers his head, completely hopeless. Back in the present, he continues to run with a face full of anger and determination. He thinks he needs to get there quickly to prevent his friend from meeting the dangerous Jin Jae-hee. But in his haste to reach his destination, he ends up bumping into someone in the middle of the alley. The boy starts to apologize for the bump but soon realizes he's in trouble. With his eyes wide with pure panic, the young man is completely frozen with fear. To his bad luck, he ran right into Jae-hee's henchmen, who say they weren't even looking for him. The boy trembles with fear, unable to move in front of the men who now surround him in the alley. Soon the entire gang appears and Jae-hee emerges from the shadows calling Lim-san's name. The woman then says he's finished and the young man shouts no as he is captured. A scream of despair echoes through the dark night as the boy is taken away by the gang. Lying on the floor, the woman warns that his only job now is to manage the application from there. Shocked by the order, the boy with glasses tries to argue but is immediately interrupted. The woman warns him that they will be watching his every move and for him not to get any funny ideas. With that, the door closes, and the boy is left alone in the room with the gang's computers. With a face full of anger and frustration, he thinks that it's all over for him for good. Outside, a henchman doubts he's a developer because he looks like a weakling. Then the woman asks if the name of the application the young man created is I'm Here. One of the men questions how that can be a distribution channel for their plans. He continues, saying that even the name sounds like trash, and Lewis's friend looks defeated. The scene then focuses on the computer screen and shows the logo of the application he created. With a simple and colorful design, the I'm Here logo shines on the computer screen. The demon prince orders the girl to tell him everything she knows about the human world, and she agrees. The scene then changes and shows the big city at night with its illuminated buildings. Elsewhere, the bespectacled friend runs desperately, out of breath and very worried about something. He thinks that Minho is in danger and regrets not having refused the proposal until the end. Just then, a memory surfaces where the boy was running happily with a prize and flowers in his hands. He couldn't believe he had won the third app challenge of the competition. With wide eyes, the young man named Lim-san could hardly believe his great victory. But suddenly, Jae-hee and her gang appeared, asking if he was the developer who won. One of the henchmen then comments that the prize money was 50 million won. With a wicked smile, the woman says he is a precious asset and tells him to get in the car. Hearing the order, the boy becomes completely terrified by the situation he has gotten himself into. He screams in fear and ends up dropping the bouquet of flowers he was holding onto the dark ground. The scene then shows the boy with glasses already inside the van while the henchmen watch him. Inside, a purple-haired guy says it's just a transaction and tells him to look to the side. The boy then sees a briefcase with 50 million in cash, and they ask him to hand over the app. Terrified, the boy tries to argue, saying he didn't make the application to sell it. The purple-haired man just stares at him in silence with a cold and emotionless expression. With an intimidating look, he replies that this is just the young boy's opinion. With tears in his eyes, the boy with glasses lowers his head, completely hopeless. Back in the present, he continues to run with a face full of anger and determination. The woman then asks her henchman about the other security cameras at the location. The boy replies that the camera only caught a rat, and the young woman curses in anger. Annoyed, the woman shouts and asks if that makes any sense for their plans. Just then, the purple-haired guy appears and looks at the time on his phone, which reads 5:21. He then gets Jae-hee's attention, who shouts back, asking what he wants with her. The woman turns to him with a determined look, says that the stock of blue tape has arrived. With that, the scene changes to the city as the sun sets on the horizon with an orange sky. The protagonist then stares into nothingness with an expression of pure boredom on his face. Suddenly, he finds the cat in an alley and calls her street, asking what she's doing there. The girl, now in her demon form, says she's gained a little weight, and he asks about the investigation. With a smile, the young woman replies that it wasn't easy, but she finally managed to figure everything out. The scene returns to the alley, and Louis stares at the blonde aggressor lying defeated on the ground. He then picks up one of the fallen pills and sniffs it, recognizing the scent of the knowing flower. The demon realizes the aggressors were consuming that to awaken their powers. With the pill in his hand, he thinks it's impossible to cultivate the flower without a host on site. The girl then reveals that the candy is called blue tape and is spreading like diet pills. The demon prince then asks the girl about the raw material of that suspicious candy. She explains that since the manufacturing is secret, it's very difficult to trace the source of the materials. Annoyed, the demon asks if she didn't find out anything useful, and the girl quickly denies it. She says the product spreads quickly, and if they follow the demonic energy, they will find the manufacturer. The demon gets annoyed, asking why she hasn't gone there already. She defends herself, saying Banby sent her to go with him. Hearing the name, the demon prince becomes very suspicious. He then asks if she is reporting everything to the other demon. Crying, the girl apologizes to Louis for her attitude. She says she is an inferior creature and must follow the orders of both. With a serious look, he tells Street to choose a side right now, asking if he or Ban B is her true master. The girl is at a complete loss for what to say. With the prince's hand on her head, she begins to stammer in fear. Then a dark vision appears, and he promises she will no longer be an inferior creature if she chooses him. With that, the young woman imagines a much more powerful version of herself, seeming to like the idea of evolving. Without hesitation, the girl kneels in front of the demon, offering her blood and flesh in the darkness to serve him. Satisfied with the answer, the demon prince gives a smile. He introduces himself as Ravis Vindica and extends his hand to her. The young woman looks at him with eyes full of tears of emotion. He then says he will accept her as his personal subordinate. Suddenly, a small, bright spirit comes out of the girl's eye, which seems to be some kind of surveillance spell. The spirit then flies towards the protagonist with a smile. With a wicked look, he tells Banby to get lost and leave him alone. With her loyalty secured, the young man turns to leave the alley, saying to go where the blue tape is gathered, and she agrees. Night then falls and the two arrive at a very isolated yard filled with suspicious-looking containers. The girl says that's where the demonic energy is concentrated. The prince then orders them to open one of the containers. But as she approaches, she realizes the door is locked, pointing to the thick chains closing it. Not caring about the chains, the demon's eye glows. With his fist clenched, he just tells the girl to get out of his way. Then the boy lands a powerful punch on the door's lock. The blow creates a flash of energy that impresses the young demoness. With the punch, the chains break and fall to the ground. Now the path is clear for them to enter. But upon looking inside, the demon prince is very surprised. Beside him, the girl makes a sour face at what she sees. Upon opening the door, a horrible smell fills the place, and both the demon and the girl cover their noses in disgust. Inside the container, they see several strange blocks emitting a very strong and dark demonic energy. Shocked by the scene, the two continue to cover their noses, and the demon prince seems very annoyed with the discovery. Suddenly, the entire container yard is covered by a strange plant, and Louis wonders if that is the blue tape. With a serious look, the boy stares at the plant while his servant remains disgusted by the strong smell. Just then, a memory surfaces and a malevolent laugh echoes over a cliff in a deserted, reddish landscape. In the memory, a young Ravis fights with his uncle, who calls him a detestable and pathetically weak nephew. Outraged, the young demon prince curses his uncle, calling him disgusting and vile because of the attack. But the uncle doesn't care and says that if he's not cute, then he's better off gone for good. And with that, the older demon lands a powerful punch right on young Ravis's face, throwing him backward. The demon prince screams in pain from the force of the blow and seems to have no chance in the fight. The uncle just stares at him with an expression of pure evil as he continues the brutal attack. With the blow, young Ravis is thrown off the cliff and screams as he falls towards the abyss. Falling into the void, the demon prince curses his uncle with great anger because of that humiliating defeat. From the top of the cliff, the uncle laughs and asks if his nephew is going to go out in such a pathetic way. The scene then shows the young demon's long fall towards the bottom of the large, dark abyss. He then hits the ground hard and screams in pain from the impact amidst purple flowers. Suddenly, his uncle appears and asks if he's already gone, mockingly calling him by name. But to the man's surprise, the young demon prince sits up, looking completely confused by the situation. He then realizes the place is full of demon bodies, all covered by the devouring flowers. The young demon prince is completely shocked by the scene, not expecting to find that there. A drop of sweat runs by his eye as he stares into the abyss. The sight is disturbing for the boy. Just then, a narration explains that when light and darkness divided, opposing beings were born forever. But there were those who could not be absorbed by either color, and because of that, they grew up alone. The scene then shifts to a group of primitive humans looking up at the sky with great curiosity. Then they find a body covered in purple flowers, the first flower to bloom gathered there. Abandoned angels and torn demons were the first hosts. The flowers seemed to feed on them. And the desire of that all-devouring flower is one and the same to completely ruin the entire world. Back in the memory, young Ravis and his uncle observe a great purple energy covering the entire sky. The uncle then looks at his nephew with a satisfied smile, seeming to greatly enjoy the view. Back in the present, Lewis says they should have been burned. Street replies that the Demon King exterminated them. The boy then wonders how there are so many of them there. If they were destroyed, they shouldn't exist anymore. He then explains that the flowers first appeared in the human world, shocking the girl. This intermediate realm where light and darkness mix was ideal, a place that belongs to no side. According to records, humans also thought they had exterminated them, but they continue to exist nonetheless. With a serious look, he thinks that if they appeared in both worlds, someone must have planned all of this. Suddenly, the girl says she sees someone approaching, and the demon prince goes on high alert. Just then, a hand grips a flashlight tightly, its light illuminating the darkness of the container yard. The light then reveals the presence of the two demons, who are surprised by the unexpected arrival. A voice says they heard noises and asks the two if they have any idea where they've stumbled into. The gang arrives and one of them curses at Jae-hee, saying it's that wretch, recognizing the boy from the tattoo shop. Street then points to the woman and identifies her for Ravis, confirming that's the Jin Jae-hee they were looking for. Outraged, the woman asks who he is to mess up her shop and questions how he managed to find the place. The demon asks if she's the one who manages all of this. The young woman finds his way of speaking strange but confirms. The demon prince then asks if she knows the raw material, staring at her with a serious and intimidating look. With a mocking smile, the woman asks if he's trying to steal, saying her business secrets wouldn't be revealed so easily. The protagonist then says that's none of his business, seeming to be thinking about something important. But he continues, saying he can't let this go, as something there seemed very wrong to him. Just then, one of the henchmen warns the others to be careful. If they fail again, young Mu Opal will take care of them. The woman then offers a special ration to her henchmen, seeming confident in the item's power. The guys get very excited about their boss's offer, asking if they can get the gift for free. With a wicked smile, the woman tells them to shut up and orders them to eat what she gave them right away. Without hesitation, the henchmen start consuming the blue pills as a dark energy envelopes them completely. Lewis then tells Street to hide because she'll only get in the way. The girl agrees and runs to a safe place to watch. The henchmen begin to transform and laugh maliciously, their bodies covered in a purple and dark aura. With a satisfied smile, the woman points at the protagonist and orders her henchmen to attack him with everything. The demonic energy is so strong that the ground begins to crack, with pill wrappers scattered around the fight scene. The group then charges at the demon prince with everything they have. He calls them fools who don't even know what they're consuming. With his eye glowing, he prepares for the fight, saying the place is overflowing with demonic energy. The demon then charges at the first henchman who attacks him, yelling as he prepares for combat. With a powerful kick, he hits the face of one of the henchmen, who spits from the force of the blow. But suddenly a hand grabs his shoulder with great force, preventing him from continuing the attack. The demon prince's eye glows with power as he prepares for the next phase of the fight. He then dodges an attack with a strange tool and prepares for a counter-attack. With a precise kick, he hits the aggressor's chin with full force and sends him flying up. Just then, the boy notices another enemy approaching from his side and prepares for the attack. Quickly, he grabs the new aggressor and throws him aside with a wicked smile on his face. Annoyed, the demon curses the henchman, who screams in pain with a bloody nose from the blow. Without mercy, he throws the man's body against the other henchman on the yard floor. The scene then focuses on the brute's body as he prepares to attack the demon prince. The demon prepares to face the strongest henchman of the group, who charges at him with full force. Hidden, Street shouts Ravis's name, very worried about the outcome of that brutal fight. Jae-hee just watches everything with a satisfied smile on her face, not caring about anything. Completely transformed, the henchmen now seem much stronger and ready for a fight. The entire group then charges at the demon prince at the same time for the final attack. Lewis blocks the blows and realizes they are much stronger now than before. He wonders if it's because they consumed even more of the drug than last time. Then, with a plan in mind, the boy looks at the open container and seems to have an idea. With a kick, he breaks the concrete floor of the container yard, raising dust. The demon then enters the container and grabs one of the purple bags stored there. He then throws the purple powder from the bag onto the henchman charging at him. Upon inhaling the powder, the men begin to cough and choke on the substance entering their bodies. With purple energy enveloping him, he says he doesn't like that cheap smell but will use it anyway. He explains that spreading evil makes his demonic energy react even more violently. One of the henchmen then growls in pain, hand on his face as the drug takes effect. Without wasting time, the demon prince lands a powerful elbow strike right on the aggressor's face. He then kicks the same guy hard, who screams from the impact of the precise blow to the stomach. The boy then smashes another henchman's head on the ground violently, defeating him with one blow. A third enemy attempts a kick, but the protagonist blocks the attack with ease and precision. With a swift movement, he grabs the man's leg and breaks it without mercy in the middle of the fight. With that, all the smaller henchmen are defeated and fall to the yard floor once and for all. But suddenly, the brute of the group manages to grab the young demon's leg with great force. The demon retaliates with a strong kick to the big guy's leg, who screams in pain from the unexpected blow. Filled with rage, the man yells for him to drop and tries to land a powerful punch on the protagonist. Lewis then catches the giant's punch with just one hand, leaving the man shocked by his strength. With a serious and determined look, he prepares to finish the fight against the last enemy there. The young man then lifts the huge man over his shoulders with completely superhuman strength. With his eye glowing intensely, he grinds his teeth and prepares the final blow on the brute. And with all his strength, he throws the man headfirst onto the ground, defeating him once and for all. Shocked, he wonders who that wretch is and how he did all that by himself. With the last enemy defeated, the demon takes a deep breath, with red energy coming out of his mouth. Seeing that scene, the woman becomes completely terrified, unable to believe what she just witnessed. Louis then stands up, his eye glowing amidst a purple aura, and faces the woman in front of him. With her hand over her mouth, she wonders in shock if that guy is a ghost or some kind of monster. A close-up is given to the demon prince's eye, which glows intensely with a dark and overwhelming power. The scene then shifts to a theater, showing a ballerina alone on a stage under a spotlight. A close-up is given to the girl, wearing a white ballet dress and looking very focused. A voice then says that's right, and that Yuri is Kang Hunju's daughter with great pride. The mother watches the performance on a TV, saying that with this talent, getting into the Venus company will be easy. Suddenly, two men enter the room, and one calls her a dear VIP client, saying he found her. Annoyed by the intrusion, the woman asks who they are and how they dare to enter like that. The pink-haired man then shows a jar of pills, saying they just came to deliver a large order. Upon seeing the jar of blue tapes, the woman is shocked and completely speechless. Her face is then reflected in the glass of the jar, and she stammers, not knowing what to say. The man tells her not to worry because they handle everything from production to sale. Worried, the woman asks if this will really be okay and if it won't cause any problems for her. With a mocking smile, the pink-haired guy asks why she's only asking this now. He then points to the TV and reminds her that she already gave a lot of that to her daughter to get on that stage. On the screen, the ballerina appears completely deformed and bizarre due to the drug's effect. Shocked by the sight, the mother can only whisper her daughter's name with great fear and regret. The scene focuses on the ballerina's face, now completely distorted because of the drug. Even with her body contorting, she still tries to maintain the ballet pose with her hand in the air. The pink-haired man then comments that the woman must have been in a hurry to use the product. With the girl writhing on the stage, he asks how much of the drug the mother gave her daughter. Desperate, the woman shouts the ballerina's name and tells her to stop it in the middle of the stage. But the young woman continues to bend into strange and impossible positions for a human body. Suddenly, the girl falls to the floor, and a scream of pure panic echoes throughout the large theater. In the audience, everyone is shocked and wonders what the heck is happening to the dancer. Even the security guards are frozen and wonder what got into her all of a sudden. Back in the room, the mother denies everything and kneels on the floor, begging the pink-haired man. Filled with rage, she shouts that they promised there would be no side effects with the drug. The guy replies that this was only valid if she had followed the recommended dosage. He then coldly says that her daughter now has no hope of recovering. The woman panics as she finds herself surrounded by the blue pills she gave to her own daughter. The man warns that she won't live a day without the blue tapes as their lifetime VIP client. In despair, she shouts no and asks if he knows how much she invested in the girl's career. The pink-haired man just stares at her with a mocking smile, not caring about the drama. With no other option, the woman bows to the floor in a sign of complete submission to the dealer. Suddenly, his phone rings and on the screen, the name Jin Jae, he appears calling him. With a bored look, he answers the call and coldly asks what the woman wants. On the other end, the girl the demon was holding apologizes to Youngmu with great fear. Louis then appears on the screen and asks if he's the one making the so-called blue tapes. Shocked by the image, the pink-haired dealer asks who the heck that guy is on the screen. With a cold look and a blue aura, the demon prince just confirms that he found the right person. The dealer then stares at the phone angrily while the young man says they need to talk. Nervous, he tells the client he needs to leave for an urgent matter. The scene then returns to the container yard during the dark and silent night in the city. With everyone on the ground, Louis asks why humans use drugs and Street says they are stupid. The demon explains they cling to small things because they have nothing real to believe in. Suddenly, the blue-haired girl points and warns her master Ravis that there are people there. The girl who was captured earlier then desperately shouts, calling for Youngmu from a distance. The dealer and his henchmen arrive, and the protagonist asks if the tattoo shop was his. With an arrogant look, the pink-haired man then asks if the young man was looking for him. Louis shows the drug and says he doesn't care about trash but wants to know where he got it. The demon then warns that this is not something a mere human should be able to find. Hearing this, the dealer is shocked and wonders what he meant by mere human. Terrified, he thinks that this wretch might be something far beyond a simple human being. A memory surfaces where Youngmu's father is begging on the floor for more drugs for his own son. In his addiction, the dealer's father even licks the boy's foot, begging for one more dose. The memory ends with the sight of the father in a terrible state while Youngmu curses the situation. In the memory, Youngmu stares at his fallen father and wonders in shock if the man has finally passed. He then curses his father, who spent his whole life on drugs and ended up this pathetically. With a serious look, the boy thinks that if his father goes out like that, he will have a big problem. Desperate, he shouts and wonders how he will get his drugs now that his father is gone. The image shows the father on the floor, while the son's voice echoes with the same desperate question. Suddenly, the man's eyes begin to glow with a very sinister and strange purple energy. Seeing that, the young dealer is completely terrified and frozen by the bizarre scene. With the body rising, the son asks, stammering if his father wasn't gone just a second ago. Just then, a dark entity appears and asks if the man's passing truly made him sad. Shocked by the appearance, the boy asks what that is and who is speaking to him. The creature then says that if his sadness demands it, it can return that man to him. With a crazy laugh, he asks why he would be sad since his father finally passed away. He continues shouting that he doesn't need a trash father and that all he wants are the drugs. The shadow entity just observes him and asks with a cold voice if that's really what he wants. It then tells the boy to feed his father's body with devouring flour that appears before him. With the flour in hand, he receives the promise that his wish will be granted if the pact is made. The shadow creature then warns him not to let anyone mock his loyalty to it. With a wicked look, he hears that he must finish anyone who denies the flour and he will be protected. A clove is given to devouring flour, which glows with a purple and very powerful energy in his hand. With a smile of pure evil on his face, the dealer accepts the pact with the dark entity. In the memory, the boy uses the flour on his father and screams uncontrollably with the power. Back in the present, the dealer faces the demon and asks if he called him a mere human. The demon prince then assumes that the pink-haired man also has something he believes in. With a smile, the dealer confirms, saying that great being gave him a new life. With this, the protagonist understands that the man before him made a contract with a demon. With his eye glowing, he says he doesn't know what trash the guy believes in, but they're both out of luck. Outraged by the offense, the dealer asks how he dares to insult his master like that. He then orders his henchmen to get that wretch and bring him to him right now. Frightened, the blue-haired girl runs and shouts that the fight is going to start again. The demon prince says he's starting to get bored and decides to end it all quickly. With that, the scene focuses on the night sky as the battle prepares to truly begin. Changing scenes, an ambulance speeds down a dark road at night. Inside the vehicle, the ballerina's mother comments that orders have skyrocketed since the launch. The scene shows a girl with a flyer for the app, saying the blue tape is a total success. A young woman then says that increasing the VIP client base across the country will be very easy. One of the drug users wonders if they will become a global corporation at this rate. Elsewhere, a henchman comments that Youngmu has already opened routes to China and Japan. The other henchman agrees and praises his boss while Louis's friend observes in silence. On his computer, the boy thinks that because of the app he created, the drug is spreading fast. Desperate, the young man with glasses pleads for someone to stop all this, please. The scene then returns to the yard with another henchman lying on the ground, completely defeated. Desperate, the captured girl screams and tells Youngmu to look at the result of that disastrous fight. The demon prince stares at him with boredom and asks when he will finally join the fight. The pink-haired dealer just stares at him in silence, seeming very focused for the combat. At this, he remembers the entity's order to finish anyone who denied the flower. With the pact in mind, the boy takes some of the blue pills to increase his strength. He then consumes the drugs and swears total loyalty to his master, the powerful Lord Borhilt. Seeing this, the girl shouts that the demon is not an ordinary student and might be the creator of the drug. Hearing the accusation, Louis gets confused, wondering what she's talking about. Suddenly, the dealer appears behind the demon with incredible speed, ready to attack. The prince turns, surprised by the speed of his pink-haired opponent's movement. The guy tries a punch, but Louis manages to block the blow with his arm at the last possible second. Without giving time to breathe, the dealer continues the sequence of attacks with great force and anger. Louis defends himself and realizes he is fast and on a completely different level from the other henchmen. The dealer asks how he blocks his attacks and if he also received the entity's blessing. With a fanatical look, he shouts that this person is his god and must belong only to him. With this, the demon finally understands everything and connects the devouring flower with the smell of the place. With a smile, he asks if the dealer's god is Barhilt, a known traitorous demon. Shocked, the pink-haired guy asks how he knows the name of such an important person. Louis then taunts him, saying he chose a pathetic loser to be his great god. Angrily, the dealer shouts and tells him not to dare insult the one who took pity on him. But the demon prince scoffs and says Barhilt must have been desperate to seek him out. The dealer then yells for him to shut up, saying Bar is not someone he can just mention. Filled with rage, the pink-haired man charges, and the two clash with all their strength. Louis says that Barhilt has really moved up in the world to have a follower like that guy. At this, a memory surfaces showing the prince's great battle against the Hilt family in the past. The memory shows the young demon completely covered in blood and very angry from the fight. At that time, the battle was intense, and one of the demons was desperately fleeing the combat. And it's revealed that the coward who fled was Barhilt himself, crying in fear of the fight. The young Ravis just watched him with a wicked smile as he fled the battlefield. Back in the present, the demon asks where the wretched Bar is hiding now. Annoyed by the disrespect, the dealer curses the protagonist for offending his master. With a scream of rage, the pink-haired man releases even more demonic power against Louis. The demon prince then retreats a bit and complains about the strong smell coming from the dealer's body. He then swears he will finish with his own hands anyone who insults Lord Bar. With that, the dealer grabs him and tries to land a blow right on the protagonist's face. The pink-haired man continues the attack with an expression of pure rage on his face. With his increased strength, he then lifts the demon off the ground to slam him down with full force. The blow throws him to the ground hard, and the boy screams in pain from the impact. Lying on the ground, the demon prince stares at him with a serious and determined look. With his face shadowed and eyes glowing, the dealer prepares for the final blow on the demon. He then starts punching the protagonist hard, shouting about the power of the blue tapes in his master. With an expression of pure fury, the pink-haired man continues the brutal attack without stopping. Lying on the ground, the demon prince realizes the guy has lost his mind and wants to finish him there. The scene shows the intense fight with the dealer shouting in rage and the demon resisting. Hidden, the servant shouts in terror for her master Ravis to stop, because he won't withstand the fight. The girl realizes he has reached his limit in that weak human body without powers. She continues to think that if they were in the demon realm, the fight would be very different. With that, the young woman laments that her master Ravis cannot use his full power in that place. The scene focuses on the fight, and the demon continues to take a heavy beating without being able to react. In the demon realm, the uncle says the flower's test subject has now completely merged with the human. Bambi then warns that his nephew could perish, and his soul will be undone forever. The uncle then asks Bambi what his nephew Ravis hates most in the entire universe. The older demon comments that the young one has a bad temper and wonders who he takes after. Bambi gets annoyed by the taunt, and the uncle warns him not to curse because he always sees everything. Suddenly, the uncle says the word filth, and Bambi is confused. With a smile, the uncle reveals that Ravis is a germaphobe and cannot stand anything that is dirty. Back in the fight, the demon prince manages to grab the dealer's hand with great force. With his face bleeding, the boy grinds his teeth and says the word disgusting with revulsion. Not understanding, the dealer is confused and wonders what he meant by that. With a bloody face, the demon shouts that he can't stand the disgusting smell coming from that guy anymore. With a swift movement, he grabs the aggressor's hand, and a strange energy begins to emerge. The dealer screams in pain and surprise upon seeing the demon's hand transform into sharp claws. Completely shocked, the pink-haired man retreats, not understanding what happened at all. He then looks at his left hand and thinks that even if it's just that, it's enough for the fight. With a confident smile, the demon prince says he finally feels like he has his claws back. The young man faces his opponent with a cold and determined look, ready to turn the tide. At this, the dealer can only groan in pain and confusion at the sudden change in the boy's power. The demon then creates an energy whip because he no longer wants to touch the enemy's disgusting body. With the whip in hand, he charges forward and says he will end this fight once and for all. And with that, the blow hits the dealer's chest squarely, who screams from the purple energy attack. Bleeding, the man wonders how a mere human can have such great power. Hidden, the blue-haired servant shouts her master Raves' name, very happy with the turn in the fight. At this, Luz's demonic form appears, and he asks if the guy really called him a human. Then, with a powerful punch, he hits the dealer's face, who is unable to defend against the blow. The impact is so strong that the pink-haired man flies backward from the force of the attack. Seeing the scene, the captured woman screams, completely terrified by the situation. Lying on the ground, the dealer curses and asks who the heck that guy is who defeated him so easily. The demon prince then grabs him and tells him to shut his mouth with that disgusting breath he has. And without giving time for a response, the boy lands one last devastating blow to the enemy's face. In the demon realm, Bambi wonders why he is acting that way all of a sudden. The uncle then explains that the human stench must have given Ravis a headache after awakening. He continues, saying his nephew cannot stand disgusting things more than anything else. With that, the uncle reveals this extreme phobia leads him to an awakening and to use part of his power. Bambi then wonders if he can really use his old power even though he's in a human body. Even with the demonic bloodstone, he thinks it would be impossible to use his full power there. With a smile, the uncle just says his nephew Ravis is not just any demon like the others. He then declares that no matter what they say, the young man is very much like him in many ways. Back in the fight, a strange symbol appears on the demon's forehead as he faces the enemy. The dealer then flies backward from the force of the blow and spits from the impact. The demon approaches the fallen enemy and tells him to consider himself a very lucky guy. He continues, explaining the man's luck is that he can't take anyone out with this body. Lying down, the dealer can't believe it and wonders how he, blessed by his master, lost the fight. The pink-haired man tries to get up from the ground but remains in shock from the humiliating defeat. Desperate, he pleads for more power from his master to turn the tide of the battle. But the demon prince grabs his arm forcefully and tells him not to get any funny ideas. With that, he warns that he will end the fight right there, but without taking the dealer out completely. The young man then charges with all his might and prepares to land another powerful blow on the fallen enemy. And with one last devastating attack, he hits the dealer's face squarely with all his strength. The scene then focuses on the pink-haired man's eye, which is shocked by his final defeat. With the final blow, the demon smashes the dealer's face into the ground with all the force he has. At that moment, the enemy's hand goes limp, and the demon prince lets him go with a sigh of relief. The pink-haired man is now completely defeated, with his face disfigured by the attack. His eyes glow one last time before he passes out for good on the container yard floor. With the fight finally over, the protagonist lets out a tired sigh after all the commotion. He then covers his nose and comments with relief that the disgusting smell is finally starting to fade. Changing scenes, the bespectacled friend despairs as he sees his app's data on the computer screen. With a panicked face, he can't believe what's suddenly happening to his creation. At this, a memory surfaces where he thinks about how school is a place one cannot escape. He remembers how students pretend to be someone they're not just to survive there. The boy thinks he just wanted to help people find the relationships they needed. With his app, he wanted people to no longer have to pretend to be accepted by others. Back in the present, he shouts angrily that he didn't make the app to sell drugs or anything like that. With great determination, the young man starts typing frantically on the computer keyboard. He then decides to use his skills to try to fix the big problem he created. But suddenly, an error appears on the screen, and he wonders what the heck is happening with the system. With time running out, the boy decides he needs to act fast before it's too late. He then grabs a chair and runs towards the glass window that separates him from the henchmen outside. His plan is to break the glass to flee the room and escape the clutches of that dangerous gang. On the other side, the henchmen hear the noise and shout for him to open the door, not understanding. The bespectacled friend shouts that he will delete the app while a henchman curses him from outside. With an alarm flashing on the screen, the young man pleads for the process to finish quickly, please. At this, he throws the chair at the glass, which shatters into 1,000 pieces, surprising the men. The henchmen then invade the room, cursing the boy, who is completely terrified. One of the men grabs him forcefully and asks what he thinks he's doing. While they hold him, the others see the deletion screen and call him a little piece of trash. Desperate, they shout to stop because if Youngmu arrives, they will all be completely done for. Even while being beaten, the young man thinks he just needs to hold on until the app is deleted. With great determination, he then picks up a shard of glass from the floor to defend himself. And with the shard in hand, he stabs the leg of the henchman who is holding him forcefully on the floor. Seizing the chance, the boy gets up and runs to the other side of the room to grab a weapon. He then grabs a fire extinguisher from the wall with an expression of pure rage on his face. Turning to the henchman, he shouts that this is his and calls them a bunch of wretches. With that, he sprays the extinguisher at the men, who scream, not understanding what's happening. The smoke fills the room, but the screen shows the app continues to be deleted successfully. The progress bar then finally reaches the end, and the deletion is completed successfully. With tears in his eyes, the young man with glasses realizes he did it, and that it's finally over. But suddenly, one of the henchmen emerges from the smoke and grabs him with great anger. The man then lands a powerful punch on the boy's face, who screams in pain from the strong blow. Lying on the floor, the henchman orders them to bring something to tie him up once and for all. Amidst the smoke, the henchmen cough heavily, unable to see clearly what is happening. One of the men then grabs the bespectacled friend by the neck, who desperately screams for him to let go. With tears in his eyes, the young man thinks that in the end, this is all he can do and that he has reached his limit. Filled with rage, the henchman curses him, calling him a little piece of trash for standing up to him. But suddenly, Lewis appears and asks how he dares to lay his hands on his servant like that. Not understanding anything, the aggressor turns around with a very confused expression on his face. At this, a hand quickly approaches the man's head, who still hasn't noticed the approaching danger. And with a swift movement, the demon slams the two henchmen's heads against each other with force. Dazed, the two wonder what happened, and one of them calls for his gang mate. Without mercy, the demon prince grabs one of the men by the hair and lifts him off the ground. The other henchmen scream in terror at the scene and wonder what is happening there. With his eye glowing intensely, the protagonist charges at the rest of the gang with all his might. With swift and precise movements, he hits all the henchmen at the same time without mercy. The blow is so strong that the men fly backward and fall to the ground, completely defeated. He then says he will not allow them to take what is his, and that they should not have touched his servant. The bespectacled friend then looks at him and calls for Minho, not understanding the sudden change in attitude. At this, a memory surfaces where the friend shows an app he was developing to the demon. He explains that the app helps people connect and even form study groups nearby. The demon is impressed with the idea and praises his friend for creating something so incredible. But the demon prince points to a red button and asks what it's really for. The friend apologizes because when Taiwu's gang got him, he couldn't help at all. At that time, he couldn't find the protagonist, so he added a new function to the app. When the red button is pressed, the location is sent to pre-defined friends. With this, he promises that if anything happens again, no matter what, he will come to the rescue. The demon gives a slight touch smile at the concern and attitude of his new human friend. Sitting in the park, the boy says thanks and that he will also download the application to his phone. Back in the present, the boy with glasses calls for Minho with his face full of tears of relief. Lewis then shows his phone and asks if he was the one who sent the help signal through the app. With teary eyes, the young man confirms the demon received his signal and arrived in time. The scene then focuses on the phone screen, showing the logo of the app that saved the boy's life. Crying, the friend thanks Minho for saving him from the henchmen of that dangerous gang. The young man then kneels on the floor as a sign of gratitude while the demon prince just watches. Changing scenes, a woman complains about the strength of her captor as she is dragged through an alley. The blue-haired servant holds her tightly and tells her to be quiet because she won't be able to escape. Seeing the scene, the demon girl calls for her master Ravis, who is watching everything with his friend. The captured woman then shouts for them to leave her alone because she doesn't need their help anymore. Lewis ignores her and says that first, It seems all the devouring flowers they had have disappeared. At this, the scene shows a giant fire burning everything in a forest with great intensity. The firefighters arrive and report the fire has not yet spread, and they will extinguish it immediately. Seeing the scene, one of the men is shocked and wonders how all of this could have happened. The firefighters try to put out the fire but realize there are several bodies lying all over the place. A police officer is shocked by the scene and wonders who those people lying on the ground are. The scene then focuses on one of the bodies, which has a bloody face and completely white eyes. Later that night, the demon, his friend, and the servant walk through a dark and silent city alley. The boy with glasses then looks at the protagonist with a very worried expression on his face. The blue-haired servant hums happily, not caring about the tension of the moment. With his back turned, the demon thinks that somehow it seems his Uncle Bambi is using him for something. With a furious look, he swears that when he returns to his kingdom, he will not let this go unpunished. The scene then shifts to the city, and the friend asks if the protagonist doesn't need to go to the hospital. In a room, the boy says it's annoying while his friend tends to his wounds with a kit. The friend thanks him, saying he pressed the button without expecting him to actually show up. The demon is a bit confused by his friend's words and the whole situation. But as he was about to say it was a coincidence, the servant covers his mouth to interrupt him. The girl then looks at him closely and asks if he's really going to say it was just a coincidence. At this, a memory shows the demon threatening the woman to take him to their hideout. The captured woman then asks if he's doing all this because of his friend Lim-san. The demon prince thinks of his #1 slave and understands why he didn't go to school. The woman gets annoyed and asks for the reason while Louis looks at his phone, which received a notification. And on the device's screen, the app's emergency button was flashing nonstop for him. Back in the present, the servant says he can't say it was a coincidence, because that's not how it works. She then asks if he's going to live there for 1 or 2 years, and then simply return to his kingdom. With that, the girl points out that the human looks at him as if he were a true hero who saved him. The friend then asks who the girl is, and Louis replies that she is his subordinate named Street. Shocked, the boy with glasses wonders what he meant by subordinate and becomes suspicious. He then asks Minho about his sudden change and the strangely dressed girl by his side. With a cold sweat on his face, the boy gets nervous and asks what he suspects about his friend. Desperate, he thinks Minho has joined an evil organization and that he didn't want that for him. The demon then thinks that many will try to attack his servant and that he can no longer lie to him. With that, he stands up and reveals that he is the son of the great demon king who descended from his kingdom. The bespectacled friend just stares at him, completely shocked and speechless by the great revelation. The demon says that now that his friend knows everything, he will have to help him with his work from now on. In disbelief, the boy with glasses asks what kind of nonsense this is about being the son of the great demon king. The boy remains silent for a moment with an expression of pure disbelief on his face. Suddenly, the cat jumps into his lap, and the young man screams in fear, asking what that is again. With his hand on his shoulder, Louis says he fought all day and asks Street to explain everything to his friend. The cat then turns to the boy and in a cute voice, tells him to listen carefully to what she's about to say. Hearing the voice, the boy with glasses screams in terror at the sight of a talking cat in his lap. With the shock of the revelation, the young man then faints and falls backward, completely unresponsive. The scene then shifts to the pink-haired dealer being put into a van by a henchman. The man says they burned everything and will leave separately to avoid raising suspicion. With a bloody face, the dealer thinks angrily that he could have finished that wretch. Outside, a police officer approaches the van and asks who is there as a figure emerges. The hooded demon then tells the police officer to be silent and not to meddle in what he's not called for. With a touch on his forehead, the police officer is completely paralyzed, his eyes rolling back. The man then falls to the ground, and the hooded figure approaches the van to speak with the dealer. The demon calls him a poor child and says he looks completely miserable. Shocked, the dealer calls him Lord Bambi and swears he will finish the wretch who defeated him. The hooded demon then extends his hand and invites him to go talk somewhere else. The scene changes and shows the smoke from the forest fire with firefighters trying to put it out. A police officer says she received a report that the dealers were subdued and wonders who did it. She then looks at a candy wrapper and says they are drugs approved by the Ministry of Health. Angrily, the police officer curses, realizing the drug has already spread in large quantities to the students. Suddenly, the police officer who was attacked earlier complains of a headache, and the woman turns around worriedly. The man tells her to check the car first, and the police officer runs to see if he's okay. But upon looking inside the vehicle, the woman is completely shocked by what she finds. Filled with rage, she wonders where the heck that wretch went after all the commotion. The scene then shifts and shows a large building in the middle of a forest during the dark night. Inside, the dealer kneels before Lord Barr and pleads for one more chance. Desperate, the man shouts that if he gives him more drugs, he will be able to finish that wretch. But the demon just stares at him and asks if he knows how valuable the flowers he burned were. The scene focuses on the devouring flower, which glows with a purple energy and has long tentacles. Barr then complains about the work he had to do to gather all those humans for his flowers. With the flower in hand, he says this is why one should not trust useless humans like that one. The dealer then pleads for one more chance and swears he will finish that wretch. But the hooded demon just stares at him with an expression of pure boredom and disinterest. Without mercy, Barr attacks the pink-haired man and shoves the flower's roots into his body. The dealer then screams in pain as the devouring flower is forcefully pushed into his eye. Lying on the floor, the man continues to scream desperately in pain from the flower's attack. The hooded demon then asks if he remembers the blood oath he made to him. With that, he tells the boy to prove his final loyalty with those flowers that are consuming him. The scene then shifts and shows the big city at night with its illuminated buildings. Elsewhere, the woman shouts that she needs to survive and just needs to grab her wallet and run. Desperate, she wonders where the object is, but a strange man appears behind her. The woman says she went to the office, but the police were there, so she had to flee. With a knife in his hand, the man says he came as a precaution and found her in the right place. Terrified, the woman asks what he is doing there and why he is causing trouble. The addict then points to his forehead and pleads for her to give him more of the blue tape now. Angrily, the woman curses him and asks how much of the drug he managed to get for himself. Beside her, some broken pieces of wood are lying on the office floor. She then picks up one of the pieces of wood and prepares to fight against the crazy addict. But the man is faster and lands a powerful punch on the woman's face, who screams in pain. With the blow, they both fall to the room floor, completely exhausted after the small fight. Even injured, the addict continues to plead for the blue tape, his eyes rolled back in his head. Suddenly, he transforms into a bizarre creature and screams even louder for the drug. The creature then attacks the woman with everything it has and stabs her with its sharp, dark claws. With tears in her eyes, the woman thinks she doesn't want to go out in such a pathetic way. At that moment, a mysterious figure in glasses appears and is covered by a dark energy. And it's revealed that the figure is Bambi, who seems to be controlling the creature with his power. With a smile, he thinks that if this happens, Ravis will hate the situation even more than before. Lying on the floor, the woman pleads for help from anyone who can save her from certain doom. With a smile, Bambi denies the request for help, saying if she is destined for hell, she must accept it. Lying on the floor, the woman curses and wonders in disbelief about the hell he just mentioned. But with a wicked smile, he says that at least he will leave her body behind in that place. The scene then shifts to a large and imposing castle in the demon realm during the dark night. Inside, a voice welcomes her younger brother Barkan, who is waiting for her in the hall. The white-haired woman then comments that it seems he's been plotting something since Ravis was sent away. Filled with rage and a dark look, she asks how he dares to use her son in his plans. The pink-haired demon then laughs and asks if she has finally realized what was happening. He says there's nothing to worry about because Ravis has already grown up and he placed the bloodstone in him. The mother shouts that he's gone mad and asks if he wants to announce to everyone that the prince is alone. With a calm look, he asks his sister to start trusting Ravis a little more from now on. She replies that it's not that she doesn't trust her son, but that she's worried about the state of the world. The woman explains that the smallest crack can make everything crumble because the world is very unstable. The brother says Ravis is strong and aggressive like him, but the sister shouts that this is exactly the problem. Then she hits him on the head and warns that if a single hair on Ravis's head is harmed, they are both done for. Angrily, he tells Bambi to look in the books for a way to get rid of all older sisters. Bambi tells him to shut up because he doesn't want a crazy brother, while asking them both to calm down. The sister then chokes him, and Bambi thinks it's a miracle Ravis survived in such an environment. With that, the scene changes, and the night continues dark and silent over the human city's buildings. Back in the room, the bespectacled friend asks in shock if the protagonist is really a demon. Louis confirms that humans call them that, and the cat is completely happy with his answer. The boy then asks if he's going to hell, and Louis says hell is right there, but he can protect him. The demon declares himself his master, but the friend panics and refuses the protection. Annoyed, the demon threatens him, saying he will pluck out Bambi's eyes if he tries to back out. The friend then starts to ask the demon prince a new question about the whole situation. With a serious expression, he wants to know what happened to the real Minho, the owner of that body. The cat explains that he was destined to pass away and that only bodies like that can be used as vessels. The boy with glasses is devastated and wonders why his friend was destined to go out like that. The demon tells him not to be sad because they will meet in the demon realm anyway. The boy remains confused and Louis says the demon realm is actually a very fun place. The cat describes the demon realm as a home full of blood and screams, and the terrified friend begs her to stop. The demon warns that he has a long way to go, not to be treated as before, and to keep the secret. On his knees, the boy with glasses just nods, still trembling from the revelation. Louis complains that his body hurts and leaves, and the cat follows him, calling him Lord Ravis. The scene then shifts and shows the large building where the protagonist is currently living. Arriving home, the young man feels a headache and wonders if he used the Bloodstone's power too much. Just then, his human sister appears with a cake and excitedly wishes him a happy special birthday. Confused, he asks about the birthday, and the girl says that she and their mother worked very hard on the cake. The young woman then puts a party hat on him and says their parents will be home soon. With a smile, she decides to start the party with a birthday selfie, and he looks very bored. But while taking the photo, the young woman notices a strange mark on the protagonist's face. She asks what it is, and he makes up a story that he fought with guys who were bullying an old lady and that it was nothing. The sister smiles at his attitude, and the boy scolds her, saying she did something very unnecessary. He finds it peculiar that the human helps others, even though she is so weak and has no power to fight. With a smile, the girl offers a piece of the birthday cake to her brother, who must be hungry. The young woman then puts a piece of cake in the demon's mouth, who seems very surprised. Eating the sweet, he wonders what that soft white thing is, with a completely new taste for his palate. The boy pulls away, covering his mouth, and curses the situation while his sister stares at him, not understanding. Suddenly, the human father arrives and orders them to find who threw eggs at him, because he will finish them all. Angrily, the man punches his henchman for not being able to stop the protesters' attack. The mother then tries to calm her husband, who seems completely out of control with anger. But he pushes her away forcefully and shouts for her to let him go and not meddle in his affairs. Seeing the scene, the sister shouts for him to stop because their mother did nothing, and Louis just watches. The father then turns around angrily and sees the birthday cake on their dining room table. Outraged, he asks how they can eat cake while he was being hit by eggs during his political campaign. The man then advances towards the two with an expression of pure fury on his tired face. With a shout, he smashes the cake and says that if he were their real father, nothing would go down their throats. The scene then focuses on the birthday cake, which is completely destroyed by the man's strong punch. The mother pleads for him to stop, reminding him that it was Minho's birthday. But the father scoffs at the idea of a birthday, and the demon stares at him in silence with cake in his mouth. With a cold look, the human father stares at the demon in silence for a tense moment. The man then turns and leaves while Louis thinks about how suffocating that house is for him. With that, the human father's bedroom door slams shut, showing all his anger. The demon prince then turns and stares at the remains of the birthday cake on the floor. With a dark aura and glowing eyes, he wonders how they dare to touch what is his like that. Just then, the mother hugs her daughter and apologizes, and the young woman says she did nothing wrong. Louis just watches the scene with the cake still in his mouth, not caring much about the family drama. With a cold look, the boy calls his father a wretch and a super arrogant human for his attitude. The scene then shifts and shows a large office building during sunset in the human city. Inside, the body's father complains that a certain Wee Young Mu hasn't sent the money and has cut off contact. Angrily, he says they need an advance payment to take a photo with Assemblement Park. One of his henchmen then bows and promises he will do his best to find the man. The father continues to complain that it annoys him to have to bow down to a wretch to increase his approval ratings. Suddenly, an aide runs into the room and reports that a video of Minna is going viral. Confused, the man asks what video that is, and the aide shows him the tablet so he can see. On the screen, the human sister appears defending an old lady and shouting for the aggressors to stop. The video shows the young woman confronting one of the guys and asking why they are bullying the old lady. The father just stares at the tablet screen with a serious expression, showing no reaction. The scene continues with the girl helping the elderly woman, who thanks her very much for her help. One of the aides says that if they reveal she is his daughter, it will greatly help his approval ratings. Hearing this, the politician starts to smile maliciously and wonders if that is really true. With a wicked smile, he thinks this could really create a good image for his campaign. The scene then shifts to a large glass building that shines with the sunlight in the middle of the city. Just then, a purple-haired guy calls for Han Young and Han Soo and tells them to come to him for a second. In a luxurious room, they watch a video of the human sister and call her the mother's new vessel. The scene then focuses on the TV screen, which shows the image of the young woman smiling with her friends. An older woman then asks the black-haired young woman if she didn't like the chosen girl. With a smile, the leader says this is the face they have been looking for all this time. With a wicked look, the woman declares that is why the young woman will be their mother's new body. She then extends her hand and complains that human bodies age quickly and become wrinkled and withered. With the girl's reflection in her eye, she says finding such a perfect vessel can only be destiny. The two subordinates then agree and comment maliciously on how the young woman is a very beautiful doll. With a wicked smile, they wonder what kind of sound the girl will make when she finally breaks. Back at the father's office, the girl's video has gone viral, revealing she is the daughter of the mayoral candidate. With this, the comments explode and the approval ratings soar, saying at this rate, the election is won. The aide reports the video will be on the 9 o'clock news, and the father finds the news excellent. He thinks the useless girl has become a good luck charm, and that he should pay more attention to things at home. The man then orders his daughter's schedule to be filled with charity work in his name. At this, the aide reports that the CEO of Nox Entertainment has approached him, and the politician is very confused. The man explains they became interested in the girl after seeing the video that went viral. Upon hearing about Nox, the politician gives a malicious smile, sensing a new opportunity for power. Lying on the floor, he celebrates, thinking that in the end, Minho was indeed a great treasure. Elsewhere, the bespectacled friend is surprised to learn that Minho's stepfather is a candidate for mayor. Louis then asks if he knows much about the family, and the friend says Minho never talked about it. He continues, saying he only knew his friend got along well with his sister and liked her very much. The demon thinks about the word clake, and remembers his uncle telling him to value those who help him gain power. In the memory, the uncle tells young Ravis to value him and Bambi, and the boy gets annoyed. Back in the present, the demon makes the same annoyed face from the memory he just had. With a bored look, the demon prince seems to finally return to the real world with his friend. Louis asks why he's squeezed in again, and the friend says he's been eating a lot lately. Suddenly, the cat appears, and the demon asks if the entrances to the kingdom are narrow and about Bambi. The cat hands him a note that congratulates Ravis and suggests he take the opportunity to capture Boar as well. Outraged, the demon prince shouts that he will finish Boar before finishing Bane for using him. On a phone, a news story shows the human father is the favorite candidate to win the election. The bespectacled friend comments that it seems his father is really going to be elected with such good public opinion. Lewis then wonders if a man like that will really devour the city, and his friend tries to downplay it. With his hand on his chin, the demon thinks this human's greed reminds him a lot of a Seniru's. He turns to the cat and asks if it's possible that Jeong Taeshik is a Seniru who came to hell. The cat explains that Senerus are gluttonous demons who eat nonstop, which is why everyone hates them. But she continues, saying she manages the district and that Jeong Taeshik is just a simple human. Suspicious, the demon prince says he finds that suspicious that the human world is rotten for having such a ruler. The boy then warns Street to be careful what she eats so she doesn't become a Seniru, and the cat agrees. The friend comments on the candidate and says it seems he is using Minha for his own purposes. With a thoughtful look, the protagonist thinks about the names Jeong Minho and Jeong Minha and what they mean. The scene then shifts, and night falls over the large building where the demon's human family now lives. Arriving home, the boy wonders what will happen to young Minna from now on with all this. In the living room, the CEO says the girl has an incredible appearance and can debut as the group's center soon. The mother tries to argue that her daughter is just a student, but the father tells her not to talk like that in front of the CEO. The father continues, saying it's a mistake to hide a child's natural talent, and the young woman becomes sad. He then apologizes to the CEO and says his wife is a bit conservative about these things. The woman from Naox tells the mother not to worry because they will ensure she balances her studies and activities. The young Minna remains silent and thinks that idols today are very different from what they used to be. The purple-haired guy adds that they can pursue their careers and still go to college. Hidden, Lewis observes the scene and wonders what's up with that guy speaking with such confidence. With the contract in hand, the human father asks if he just needs to sign that document to close the deal. The CEO confirms this is the contract with Nano X, that it will surely illuminate the future for both of them. The human sister looks very disheartened by the situation, while the demon continues to watch from a distance. The CEO then notices the boy's presence and calls him Big Brother, introducing herself as Kang Hunju. The demon prince just stares at her in silence with an expression of pure boredom and disinterest. Outraged, the father shouts at Jeong Minho and asks why he isn't greeting the guest. But the CEO asks him to calm down and says that kids these days are all like that. The protagonist then remembers that the old Minho liked his sister very much and valued her a lot. At this, a memory surfaces and his uncle Ravis tells the young demon that he is always by his side. The little demon prince is startled and asks where that declaration came from all of a sudden. The uncle then tells him to listen carefully and says the world is full of hostile forces wanting power. He continues, saying Ravis is the successor and needs to embrace his followers to carry the burden. But the young demon refuses, saying he can live perfectly well on his own with his own strength. The uncle laughs and says for now, yes, but one day he will find people who attract him without realizing it. With a smile, the older demon warns that then the young one will change before he even realizes it. The little prince just stares at him with an expression of pure irritation on his face, saying nothing. In the memory, Ravis says he hates this conversation and wants to go back to training, and his uncle laughs, saying he's his nephew. Back in the present, the demon places his hand on Minna's shoulder and calls her name with a serious look. He then asks with a calm voice if this is really what the young human woman wants to do. Surprised by her brother's attitude, the girl looks at him and calls his name, stammering, not understanding. The boy warns that if she is being forced, she should tell him because he will take care of everything for her. The young woman then lowers her head and falls silent, seeming to remember something very bad from the past. In the memory, a man hits her mother and calls her an ungrateful brat for forgetting his kindness. He then pulls the mother's hair forcefully and says he can beat them but can't take them from the house. With a threatening look, the man challenges her to try to survive without a single cent to her name. The young Minho shouts that the things are theirs, but the uncle just calls them knave like their mother. The man then chokes the mother and shouts that the key to survival is to take something and never let it go. With a dark look, he tells young Minna to remember that lesson well for the rest of her life. Back in the present, the girl lifts her face with a smile and says that this is her choice. With great determination in her eyes, the young woman confirms in front of everyone that she will do it. She then turns to her father and imposes the condition, if she earns money, it must all go into her name. In her thoughts, the young woman swears she will rescue her mother and brother from that monster who controls them. The father laughs at the condition and the CEO agrees, saying the young woman's hard work belongs only to her. With a smile, the woman from Nox closes the deal and asks if they can sign the contract right now. The mother then asks the president to take good care of Minha, because the young woman is more precious than her own life. With tears in her eyes, the mother asks her daughter if she is really sure about this important decision. But the young woman just smiles and asks her mother to trust her at least this once with her plan. The girl then turns to the demon and thanks him for all the concern he showed. The demon prince just stares at her in silence with a bored expression, not caring about the scene. With that, the scene shifts to a luxury car speeding down a dark city road. Inside the car, the CEO says the more she looks, the more perfect the young woman is as her new vessel. The woman praises the girl's appearance, eyes, and rare purity, saying she loves everything about her. But the purple-haired guy comments that the young woman's brother, Jong Min-ho, seemed very strange to him. The leader then asks Yong Mu, who says he felt something very special in the girl's brother. With a serious look, the black-haired young woman states with certainty that he is not an ordinary human. At this, the woman smiles and suggests he might be a tracker from the demon realm who found them. The purple-haired guy asks if the mother wants him to handle the situation, but she says not yet. The leader warns that the priority is to watch Minha, and the boy complains about the demon's glare, wanting to finish him. A dark figure says the new moon night is near and that after the ritual, he can do whatever he wants. Excited, the boy asks for a promise, and the woman says it is obviously a gift from a mother to her son. The black-haired young woman then mentions Mara, and the leader gets annoyed, asking what she means. The young woman tells Young Moo never to say that name again, because she will be reborn as Jiang Minha soon. With a dark aura, she swears that nothing will stop her, and that she will not fail this time. The scene then shifts to Minha, who arrives in front of a large glass building in the middle of the city. With a sigh, the young woman faces the building and tells herself she can do this with determination. With firm steps, the girl then walks towards the entrance of the large company building. Inside a room, the CEO welcomes the new family member, Young Minha. With the girl by her side, the woman announces she will be the center of Naok's new group, ZRA. One of the trainees complains because she trained to be the center, and the CEO tells her to support Minha as a helper. The woman then turns to the young woman and tells her to make it work, while another girl glares at her angrily. With that, the rehearsal room door closes, and the meeting with the new group members ends. One of the girls then approaches and asks if Minha got the spot because of her famous father. Filled with rage, she complains about her stealing the spot she fought for 4 years, and the young woman tries to deny it. The girl doesn't believe her and charges at Minha, who screams at the unexpected attack. With a threatening look, the trainee says she will see how far her father's support can take her. With her hand on her face, young Minha stares at the aggressor with a cold look and a bleeding cut. A close-up is given to the girl's wound, which is bleeding a little after the other trainee's attack. In another room, the CEO says goodbye to one of her employees and leaves with a calm expression. The purple-haired guy watches everything on a screen and says the scene was epic and the mother will flip out. He then calls for his mother and tells her to look at what just happened in the group's rehearsal room. The boy points to the screen and reports that Hyen scratched Minha has face and there's blood everywhere. On the screen, the young woman remains standing with her hand on her face while the other girls just watch. With a cold look, the CEO calls the aggressor a worm worse than dirt for her attitude. Filled with rage, she wonders how they dare to mark her precious vessel in that way. Elsewhere, Louis's friend is surprised by Minha's debut because Naox is very famous. The boy asks if Street knows everything and she boasts, saying she has lived in the human world for 200 years. The demon says if it's his sister's will, it's not his problem, but the CEO and her children annoy him. He thinks they might be hidden demons because they weren't intimidated by his glare even without an aura. Street explains that long-time demons in the human world hide their auras as if it were nothing. The blue-haired girl then warns Ravis not to shoot blindly from Minho's body because it's dangerous. The friend agrees, saying no one likes the intimidating look the protagonist has on his face. Louis then confirms they are suspicious and that even without his aura, he can sense a demon. With a frustrated look, the boy complains that even so, he couldn't find a certain Barca. Angrily, the demon shouts for Street to go to the demon realm, and both his friend and the girl are startled. Annoyed, the young man complains that even the dogs ignore him because he can't use the bloodstone properly. He then asks the servant if she has figured out how to recover the stone's power, and the girl confirms. With that, the demon prince orders servant number 1 and the girl to recruit Hanyang, Ju and the twins. The scene then shifts and shows the assaulted trainee walking down a dark and lonely street at night. The young woman cries, lamenting that this happened after 4 years of preparation. Suddenly, a sharp blade appears in the darkness, and the girl is completely terrified by the sight. The blade stops right in front of the trainee's face, who frighteningly asks who is there in that alley. From the shadows, the black-haired young woman emerges with her 2 blades in an intimidating and dark pose. Terrified, the trainee asks what the other wants, and if she did anything wrong to deserve that. Crying, the girl apologizes for losing her head for a second because of Minha earlier. A close-up is given to the aggressor's eye, which glows with a purple energy as she prepares to attack. With a swift and precise movement, the black-haired young woman charges and attacks the trainee without any mercy. The scene then shows the result of the attack, with blood splattered all over the dark alley wall. With her face stained with blood, the aggressor coldly asks why the other hit Minha in the room. With a threatening look, she warns that her mother hates that kind of thing and will not tolerate it. Elsewhere, a couple walks down a dark street while the husband warns her not to stay out late. The man says his wife is cute and asks if it's really the twins who want chicken or if it's her. Just then, a slimy, horned creature emerges from the shadows and watches the couple with glowing eyes. The scene then shows the building where the black-haired young woman's parents are currently living. In bed, the girl's mother seems to be having a nightmare and groans in pain as she sleeps restlessly. With a cold sweat on her face, the woman wakes up scared and breathless after the bad dream. Suddenly, the slimy creature appears in the room and stares at her with its bright, yellow eyes in the darkness. The creature attacks the woman, who screams for it to shut up and says she will crush all humans. The monster then enters her mouth and tells her not to worry because it will take good care of the children. Terrified by the possession, the young woman screams desperately for her children in her womb. The creature continues to enter the woman's body, who gags and coughs from the entity's invasion. With that, the possession is finally complete, and the woman fully absorbs the creature into her body. Now possessed, the young woman gives a wicked and scary smile as she drools with a look of pure evil. In another room, the husband hears a strange noise and asks his wife what that sound was. With a worried expression, the man gets up and calls for his wife again, getting no response. Suddenly, something comes out of the room and charges towards the man with impressive speed. The now possessed woman grabs her husband by the neck, and he asks in shock what she is doing. With a disgusted look, she calls him a low-class guy and wonders how she lived with him. Completely terrified and with tears in his eyes, the man asks who the heck that woman is. The woman ignores him and asks why he cares as her hand approaches his face. Desperate, the man screams for help and calls out Yom, just name as he is attacked by his wife. The scene then shows the outside of the building, with blood splattering on their apartment window. With a wicked smile, the now possessed and pregnant woman laughs as she caresses her large belly. With a dark aura and a wicked look, the woman declares that this body now belongs to her. The scene then shifts to the door of a delivery room, from where a very loud scream of pain comes. The woman is in labor and screams in pain as she attacks a doctor who asks her to calm down. Filled with rage, she shouts for them to get those filthy things out of her before she finishes everyone. Amidst the pain, the woman screams that it's all the fault of a wretch named Innies with horns. The nurses are shocked by the scene and wonder what is happening while talking about the children. With that, twin babies are born with red eyes and strange marks that seem to be demonic. Sometime later, the mother complains about her slow body and belly fat in a messy apartment. The two babies then crawl towards their mother and call for her with a cute and innocent voice. Annoyed, the woman shouts that if they took her magical power, they'd better pay her back. The mother then orders them to grow up fast and protect her until she finds a body for her spirit. Elsewhere, two women talk and say the new mother has been in shock since her husband left. One of them comments that she's hardly ever home and doesn't show off her children, even though she was happy about the pregnancy. Meanwhile, the mother is seen dancing with a guy at a club and asks if he works in TV. The woman then says he must know many beautiful and stylish kids because of his job. The man is a bit embarrassed and replies that, well, he knows some people like that. With a malicious look and a dark aura, he then approaches the woman to seduce her. With that, the boy pulls her close and hugs her tightly from behind in the middle of a dark club. With her eyes glowing, she says there's no shortage of beautiful things in the human hell, and she will take them all. And with a look of pure evil, she swears that one day she will finish Innias with her own hands. Changing scenes, the CEO cries and tells a detective that Hyen was supposed to be the center of the new group. The police officer asks if the victim had any grudges with colleagues or if she was being harassed. The CEO starts to feel unwell, and the blue-haired guy asks if she's okay. The boy warns the detective that it's better for them to stop there, because the CEO saw her as a daughter. With that, the black-haired female officer suggests they talk to the other trainees first. The detective agrees and says goodbye to the woman and the young people to continue the investigation. The other police officer then calls him by name and follows him out of the room to question the girls. Outside, the police officer seems very thoughtful and suspicious of the whole situation. As soon as the door closes and the police officers leave, the CEO stops crying and shows her true face. With an expression of disgust and anger, the woman suddenly seems to be feeling very unwell. Suddenly, the woman gets very sick and throws up a green substance with several larvae. The disgusting green goo with larvae spreads all over the company's meeting room floor. Filled with rage, the woman complains about the detective and the money she spent to cover everything up. Her son calms her down, saying the police officer will eventually stop and that now even her head is larvae. Angrily, she complains her body is rotting and that she's dying of impatience with the delay. Her son hugs her and tells her not to stress because his body will be ready for her soon. With a wicked look, the demoness tells him to hurry up and start the plan as soon as possible. In another room, the blue-haired guy tells the trainees that everyone already knows the news about Hyen. He continues, saying a madman attacked the girl with a knife in broad daylight on the street. With this, he announces that for their safety, they will start living in the dorms from tomorrow. One of the girls then asks if it's really necessary for them to go to the company dorms. The boy confirms and asks if she doesn't know that idle dorms are a standard rule in the industry. Worried, young Minha tries to argue that if she's not at home, her mother and her brother, but the black-haired girl interrupts her, saying if she can't do it, she will take care of everything herself. The blue-haired guy then tries to calm the black-haired girl down, calling her by the name Yang Ai. With a wicked smile, he warns that if she scratches the girl's face, their mother will finish her. He explains to Minha that Yang Ai was very fond of Hyen, and that's why she's very sensitive at the moment. With that, the girls agree to move into the dorm and meet there the next day. Young Minha thinks worriedly that she's already anxious because even her brother has changed lately. The scene then shifts to a house at night with sounds of someone panting while exercising. Inside, the bespectacled friend trains with difficulty while Louis lifts a 30-kilogram weight. The demon thinks his knots are stronger and he can suppress humans but not a demonic beast. Angrily, he complains about Ban B, who should have taught him how to control the demonic bloodstone. At this, a memory surfaces showing Ban B writing a letter and promising 2 gifts to Ravis. The first gift he writes in the letter is a method to control the demonic bloodstone. The letter explains the stone suppresses magical power, but it was modified to link him to a human body. With a crazy smile, he thinks the power will only be released if his eye is crushed to open. The second gift was a child that he sent to Ravis, left in his care in the human world. With a smile, Ban B finishes the letter and orders it to be delivered so that Ravis can find his strength. But in a memory, the demon prince tears up the letter in anger without reading it and curses Ban B for using him. Back in the present, the demon wonders if the method was written in that letter he destroyed. Suddenly, the cat appears, shouting for Ravis and saying that something terrible has just happened. The friend is shocked to see the cat running on 2 legs, and Lewis asks what it is this time. The cat then says it's about Han Yong, Ju and the twins that the protagonist asked her to investigate. With wide eyes, the cat reveals that the company's CEO is actually a demoness named Mara. Not understanding the situation, the bespectacled friend confusedly asks who the heck this Mara is. The cat explains that she is the Witch of Greed, and that she stole a human body to live there. Upon hearing the revelation, the demon prince just lets out a ha, with a slight smile on his face. With a wicked smile, the boy thinks that woman was hiding there all along. A memory surfaces showing a party in the demon realm where everyone praises the beauty of Lady Inya's. With a smile, the demona says that to have beautiful lips, one must learn to keep the truth within them. One of the guests is enchanted and says that since she only spoke the truth, she will also become beautiful now. Another demoness says she teaches her daughter rhetoric to be like Inya's, because words are weapons and dignity. With a smile, Inya says she will grant the blessing of the silver tongue to the young girl at the party. In the background, the Witch of Greed watches the scene with envy and contempt for the other, more beautiful demoness. Eating larvae from her goblet, the witch says that it's all just a bunch of nonsense. A young demoness then praises the beauty of Lord Velix, but the witch continues to eat her larvae. With a wicked smile, the witch grants a blessing to the girl, wishing that she passes from desire. Shocked by the curse, the young demoness can only cover her mouth with her hands, speechless. Filled with rage, the Witch of Greed grinds her teeth and swears to herself she will wait for the right moment. She then glares at Lady Inez with hatred and promises she will not let this go unpunished in the future. Back in the present, the cat says that Mara Villiax had an inferiority complex with Lady Inez. The friend explains his mother said Mara was like that since she was a child, but he never paid attention to it. The demon continues, saying she was caught stealing from the fountain of demonic souls and fled to hell. The bespectacled friend then asks why the witch approached Manhwa, and if she knows that he is Ravis. But Lewis says no, because if she knew, she wouldn't have left him alone and would have attacked him. He thinks that in this body, he is no match for her, and that her subordinates are also not ordinary. The cat then says they need to strengthen the power of the bloodstone, and that she will prepare everything. With a determined look, the cat says the first step is to clear the neighborhood of the local riffraff. The scene then shifts, showing the entrance of a large supermarket warehouse during the day. While shopping, his mother says that if her daughter wants to quit, she just has to say so because she's anxious. But the young woman says it's okay, because the manager thinks they will catch the culprit soon, and it was random. With a sad look, the mother remembers her daughter's dream was to be a veterinarian, not a famous idol. Young Minha then passes by an aisle of dog food and seems to become a little thoughtful. The scene focuses on a bag of food with a cute dog on the packaging, and she thinks it would take too long. With a determined look, the girl says she wants to get her mother out of that hellish house as soon as possible. With her hand on the escalator's handrail, the young woman seems very focused on her new life goal. With a smile, she tells her mother that opportunities like this don't come along often and that dreams can change. The mother worries because she won't see her in the dorm, but the daughter says the man will calm down after the election. With her face full of guilt, the mother apologizes to her daughter for their situation. She continues, saying if she hadn't remarried, her daughter wouldn't have to go through that. But the young woman tells her mother not to talk like that because she already had a hard time raising them alone. In the memory, the stepfather appears with the children, and the young woman says that before the wedding, he treated them well. With tears in her eyes, the mother just calls for her daughter with an expression of pure sadness. With a smile, the young woman tells her mother to wait a little and promises she will work very hard. The scene then shifts to an amusement park with a large castle and a Ferris wheel in the background. People scream with excitement as they descend at high speed on a thrilling roller coaster. Lewis just watches the scene with boredom, calling the humans pathetic for being afraid of that. The friend feels sick and says it was indigestion, and the demon tells him to wipe his mouth before speaking. Annoyed, the demon prince says he will never ride that ride again in his life. The scene then shifts, and the three arrive in front of a haunted house with a dark aura. Lewis asks Street if this is really the place, and the girl confirms that it is for sure. She explains that a demon trapped in the human world escaped, and she tracked it with her instincts. The demon prince then asks for the name of the demon they are looking for there. And the cat reveals the name is Scream, and that it converts screams into demonic power for itself. With that, the young woman says luring it with screams would be the most effective tactic. Shocked by the suggestion, the bespectacled friend boasts that he has never screamed in his entire life. The demon then drags him into the house, and the cat says she will watch the entrance for them. Inside the haunted house, the friend is frightened by the decor, and Lewis feels something strange. With his friend clinging to him, the demon tells him to stop overreacting everything. Suddenly, a monster jumps out in front of the two, and the friend screams in fear at the sudden appearance. Startled, the boy with glasses hugs Lewis tightly and continues to scream in pure panic. The demon then calms him down, saying he was pretending to see the enemy's reaction. The friend asks if that was his first scream ever, and the demon confirms, embarrassed. Just then, a bright green eye appears in the darkness, watching the two boys from afar. The eye is then revealed to be that of the demon Scream, who thinks this is the fastest method. With a determined look, he thinks that if he absorbs the evil of the demons, he will release more power. The creature then approaches and compliments the young man's scream, saying it was as sweet as crimson blood. Suddenly, the demon scream appears in front of the two with a bizarre and scary appearance. With a wicked smile, he says the boy's scream is delicious and asks him to scream more. Terrified, the bespectacled friend asks Minho if that is the demon they were looking for. With his hand on his friend's chest, Louis protects him from the creature's attack. With a cold look, the demon tells the creature not to touch his servant because he belongs to him. Surprised, the monster asks what he is, and if by any chance he is not a human like the other one. With a wicked smile, the demon calls for Scream and asks what kind of scream he will let out. At this, the creature lunges forward and lands a blow that throws Louis backward while his friend shouts for Minho. The monster then turns to the friend and delights in the scream, absorbing all the boy's energy. Lying on the floor, the protagonist gets up and thinks he can only use the power of his left hand now. With that, the young man charges again at the bizarre creature while his friend watches in terror. Scream then prepares an attack and asks where the demon thinks he is crawling to now. The green energy blow hits the boy squarely and throws him to the ground with great force and violence. Desperate, the friend shouts for Minho to be careful as a claw approaches him from behind. The creature then grabs the boy with glasses, and with a wicked smile, tells him to scream even more. Down, Louis shouts for him to shut up, because the screams only make the wretch stronger. The monster turns to the demon and comments on his eyes, which are completely soaked with fear. With a scary smile, he says he should turn those eyes into earrings and wear them around. With his hand glowing pink, the demon prince blocks the creature's attack with a single blow. With a determined look, the young man wonders who said he was scared of this fight. And without giving time for a response, the boy lands a powerful punch right on the bizarre monster's face. The creature laughs and scoffs at the demon for struggling with his short and powerless arms. With a jump, the young man tries to attack from above, but the monster calls him cute and mocks his attempt. Louis then realizes his jump is still at a human level and that he can't handle the creature. Without difficulty, the monster grabs the demon prince with one of its hands and lifts him into the air. Seeing the scene, the bespectacled friend shouts Minho's name, completely terrified. Being crushed by the creature, the demon screams in pain from the force of the grip. With a wicked smile, the monster reveals a sword forged from the protagonist's friend's screams. He then threatens to pluck out the young man's eyeball to see what kind of delicious scream he will make. Filled with rage, the demon calls him a filthy creature and shouts that he will not scream under any circumstances. The monster just laughs and says for them to see if that's really true as he prepares the final attack. The green blade gets closer and closer to the demon prince's eye, who faces his end head-on. And with a swift movement, the energy sword hits the protagonist's face squarely with force. Seeing the scene, the friend shouts no and covers his mouth, completely shocked. From the demon's wound, a few drops of red energy begin to fall onto the haunted house floor. Not understanding, the monster wonders what that is because he didn't expect that reaction. With a bleeding face, the demon wonders if his vision is suddenly getting clearer. A memory surfaces, showing Bambi writing a letter with strange symbols on a piece of paper. In the letter, he reveals he modified the bloodstone so the power would only be unlocked if it cracked once. Back in the present, Louis curses Bambi for hiding the unlock condition in that way. Shocked, the monster wonders why his sword couldn't even pluck out a human eye. With a pink aura, the demon prince shouts that it's because he is not just any simple human. Filled with rage, the creature grows in size and prepares to attack the young demon with everything. Louis then turns to his bespectacled friend and shouts for him not to stop screaming. Confused, the friend says that will only make it stronger, but the demon tells him to shut up and scream. Not understanding the plan, the young man decides he needs to trust Minho and his crazy strategy. With that, the boy with glasses takes a deep breath and prepares to let out the biggest scream of his life. And with all his might, the boy lets out a deafening scream that echoes throughout the haunted house. The monster then delights in the scream and absorbs all the energy coming from the protagonist's friend. With the energy enveloping him, Louis says that with the stone open, the seal on his leg is breaking. The bespectacled friend continues to scream with all his might to help with the demon's plan. The creature then calls him an idiot for strengthening it and says his arrogance will be his end. But Louis smiles and asks if his movements don't get slow when he eats a scream. With a determined look, the demon prince prepares for the attack and tells the monster to listen. And with a scream, the boy charges at the creature with everything he has to finally end the fight. The demon then lands a powerful punch right on the monster's face, who is distracted by the friend's scream. And without giving time for a reaction, the young man continues the sequence of attacks with great force and speed. With a confident smile, the boy says that now that the stone's shell has cracked, he can feel the power. With that, the demon prince jumps into the air and prepares for another devastating attack against the creature. He thinks that if he keeps absorbing the evil of the demons, his power will return much faster. The monster screams in pain from the attack, and the demon continues to think he will recover his power soon. With the final blow, the creature begins to completely disintegrate in front of the two young boys. And with that, the demon scream is completely defeated and disappears without a trace. Satisfied with the fight's outcome, the protagonist says that everything happened exactly as he thought. With a pink aura enveloping him, he thinks the power he's accumulating is no match for human evil. And with a wicked smile, he says that now that the stone is open, he just needs to absorb evil to return. The bespectacled friend says the demon was absorbed and asks if that's really okay. With a smile, Louis says yes and asks if they should go eat the next demon right now. The scene then shifts to a large glass building that shines with the city's night light. In a hallway, Manhwa thanks a woman for the escort as she arrives at her new apartment. The young woman then tells the young girl to unpack her bags and warns her not to leave until rehearsal time. With a sad and disheartened look, the girl just nods without saying anything else. With that, the door closes forcefully, and the young woman is left completely alone in the hallway. Manhwa then lowers her head with an expression of pure determination and sadness on her face. She clenches her fist tightly and thinks of her mother and her brother who were left behind. With her suitcase by her side, the girl tells herself that she can definitely do this. But as she looks up, the young woman notices there is a security camera watching her. A close-up is given to the device, which seems to be on and recording her every move. Suddenly, a demonic hand appears, and a voice says the mother is very excited about all this. The CEO in her bizarre form hugs her son and asks if he will still listen to her even if they switch. Elsewhere, Louis, his friend, and the servant walk out of the amusement park together. Suddenly, the blue-haired girl smells blood and wonders what that could be. She congratulates him on recovering his energy, calling him Ravis Vindica, the master of blood. The young woman then kneels and swears that his street, she will be his shadow and follow him to the end of darkness. The demon prince tells her not to exaggerate and asks for the target's locations and to track Mara. He says he wants to deal with them soon to gain power, and the servant excitedly agrees. The scene then shifts once more to a dark and dirty alley in another part of the city at night. In the darkness, a man then lights a cigarette that glows with a warm, orange flame. The demon Apep Shield feeds on the energy of a smoker's lungs and asks for more and more. But suddenly the man grabs the creature's head, which is surprised by the unexpected action. It's revealed to be Louis, who tells the creature to come with him, and the monster is terrified. With his pink energy, the demon prince absorbs the creature, which screams in pain from the process. With the disgusting smell, the boy coughs and complains while his friend watches by his side. Looking at the night, the demon says with determination that now they will go to the next target. Elsewhere, they find Asura, a demon who absorbs the memories of drunk humans. The young man complains about the smell and doesn't understand why there are so many demons in the mortal realm. The bespectacled friend says the demon was absorbed and asks if that's really okay. With a smile, Louis says yes and asks if they should go eat the next demon right now. The scene then shifts to a large glass building that shines with the city's night light. In a hallway, Manhwa thanks a woman for the escort as she arrives at her new apartment. The young woman then tells the young girl to unpack her bag and warns her not to leave until rehearsal time. With a sad and disheartened look, the girl just nods without saying anything else. With that, the door closes forcefully and the young woman is left completely alone in the hallway. Manhwa then lowers her head with an expression of pure determination and sadness on her face. She clenches her fist tightly and thinks of her mother and her brother who were left behind. With her suitcase by her side, the girl tells herself that she can definitely do this. But as she looks up, the young woman notices there is a security camera watching her there. A close-up is given to the device, which seems to be on and recording her every move in the hallway. Suddenly, a demonic hand appears, and a voice says that the mother is very excited about all this. The CEO in her bizarre form hugs her son and asks if he will still listen to her even if they switch. Elsewhere, Louis, his friend, and the servant walk out of the amusement park together. Suddenly, the blue-haired girl smells blood and wonders what that could be. She congratulates him on recovering his energy and calls him Ravis Vindica, the master of blood. The young woman then kneels and swears that his street, she will be his shadow and follow him to the end of darkness. The demon prince tells her not to exaggerate and asks for the target's locations and to track Mara. He says he wants to deal with them soon to gain power, and the servant excitedly agrees with the plan. The scene then shifts once more to a dark and dirty alley in another part of the city at night. In the darkness, a man then lights a cigarette that glows with a warm, orange flame. The demon Apep feeds on the energy of a smoker's lungs and asks for more and more. But suddenly, the man grabs the creature's head, which is surprised by the unexpected action. It's revealed to be Louis, who tells the creature to come with him, and the monster is terrified by the order. With his pink energy, the demon prince absorbs the creature, which screams in pain from the process. With the disgusting smell, the boy coughs and complains while his friend watches by his side. Looking at the night, the demon says with determination that now they will go to the next target. Elsewhere, they find Asura, a demon who absorbs the memories of drunk humans. The young man complains about the smell and doesn't understand why there are so many demons in the mortal realm. The uncle then laughs and boasts, saying that this is a temple that humans are building for him. With a smile, he tells his nephew that he is a god he could never hope to rival. But Bambi corrects him, saying that as far as he knows, humans are not building that for Varkan. The uncle gets furious and asks why they would worship a guy who got beaten by him, and Ravis doesn't care. With a wicked laugh, he says he won anyway, and that's why it's all is now. Back in the present, the bespectacled friend is shocked because he heard the pyramids were built 4,000 years ago. Suddenly, Street appears terrified and says Ravis's younger sister might be devoured by Mara. Hearing the news, the demon prince just remains silent, processing the information. With a serious and determined look, he thinks about the possibility of Minna being devoured by the witch. The scene then shifts to a large, isolated building in the middle of a dark forest at night. In front of the place, the CEO comments to her daughter about the night she was born a long time ago. The two then look at the starry sky, which reveals absolutely nothing to them at that moment. The black-haired young woman then asks her mother if this is really the right place for their plan. The son carries Minna, and the CEO confirms that this is a rift between the demonic and human realms. But suddenly, the three are startled by something that appears in front of them and are frozen. The scene then shows a large hall with several bodies on the floor, all covered by purple flowers. A long-haired demon with a flower in his hand angrily asks who the heck these people are. The CEO introduces herself as Mara Belayas, and the demon is shocked to hear the famous witch's name. He recognizes her as one of the Black Thrones and a fugitive and tells her to get out of that place. The demon then warns them to be careful with the flowers scattered on the hall floor. Mara admits she is nobody now and needs everything she is just to maintain her human form. But with a wicked smile, she reveals she has prepared something to protect her own demon children. The other demon then calls her pathetic for using her hybrid children as shields to protect herself. Mara says she gave them life and that it's their duty, and tells him to take his weeds and get out. Outraged, the demon shouts and asks if she just called his sacred flowers weeds to his face. Filled with rage, he attacks and shouts that no one recognizes the value of his flowers in this kingdom. But Mara's son hits him with a blow and tells him to calm down because he's too agitated. With a satisfied smile, the Witch of Greed praises her son for the good job he did. A memory surfaces, showing the witch complaining about the waste of her stolen soul fountain water. In the memory, she forces her two baby children to swallow the fountain water she stole from the kingdom. The narration explains that the soul fountain water comes from a place called Jar, Nahim in the demon realm. It's revealed the water is made from the tears of the god who created the world and is the source of all power. In a vial, the purple water glows, and the narration says it is the only thing that can satisfy the witch's greed. Angrily, Mara curses Gamadare Vindica for hoarding the fountain water, even though it's not really his. In the memory, she forces her children to drink the water and orders them to protect her from any threat. With a determined look, the Witch of Greed swears she will find the Circale that is in the human realm. Back in the present, the three run through a forest, and the cat says that Mara's stench is getting closer. The cat then stops in front of a large building and warns that this is definitely where the witch is hiding. The demon prince then carries the blue-haired servant while his friend complains about the whole situation. With a bandage on her nose, the girl laments that her sense of smell has now surpassed its usefulness. The bespectacled friend then shouts to Minho that he needs to save Minha no matter what inside. Louis agrees and says for them to go, but his friend asks if he can come along because he'll be a burden. With a dark look, the demon prince says he won't be a burden but rather a great human shield. The blue-haired servant then wishes Ravis good luck and hopes he defeats the witch Mara. The demon turns to the girl and tells her to come in too, because they need to even the numbers. Shocked by the order, the young demoness shouts and asks if he's serious about her going along. With a disgusted look, the servant wonders if fame and fortune are worth it and that she should have stayed with Baneby. Inside, Minna is standing in a large purple magic circle that glows with a dark energy. The witch then approaches and with a wicked smile, tells the girl to come to her very quickly. Lying on the floor, the long-haired demon pleads for Mara to spare him because she will need him in the future. The son asks if he can keep him, and the demon pleads for a task to redeem himself. The long-haired demon wonders why birds of a feather always flock together like that. Disgusted, he thinks about how an addict betrayed his family for greed and how the twins are hybrids. Suddenly, the Witch of Greed notices Minha's brother's presence and is surprised by the visit. Shocked by the scene, the bespectacled friend asks if all those bodies on the floor are real. Louis then finds Yumu with flowers in his eyes and says he was wondering where he had gone. He then warns Lim's son that if he hadn't saved him, he would have ended up the same way. Terrified by the sight, the bespectacled friend thinks this is disgusting in the real demon world. The other demon asks if he knows Youngmu and angrily accuses him of ruining his plans. The witch then says her eyes never lie, and her son asks if his mother knows who that boy is. The servant reveals the protagonist's identity, calling him Lord Ravis, who is banished for finishing the Bar family. Mara is shocked and recognizes him as the delinquent son of Aeneas whom she hates so much. The long-haired demon also recognizes him and calls him the butcher who annihilated his clan. But the boy realizes this is his chance because Louis is no longer the same and is trapped in a human body. With that, he clenches his fist and decides he will avenge his family with his own hands right there. Annoyed, the witch thinks Aeneas sent him to interfere with her plans, even in the human realm. Louis then realizes he can't handle all three and that Bar could backstab him at any moment. With a bored look, the young man decides he will deal with the wretch later and tells him to leave. The long-haired demon asks if he still thinks he's the Ravis of the realm and that he will finish him. With his eye glowing, the protagonist shouts for him to get out if he doesn't want to be finished. Under the pressure of the demon prince's aura, the other boy retreats in fear with a bloody nose. Louis then warns him to tell the other demons that the Master of Blood is descended and to stay quiet. Shocked, the man wonders how it's possible for the demon prince to use mana in a human body. Frightened, the demon curses, but the witch's son kicks him hard out of the building. The scene then shows the boy flying far away from the building after being kicked out. With the problem solved, the demon calls the witch an old hag and tells her not to steal others' bodies. Outraged, the woman shouts and asks how a brat dares to speak to an elder like that. Suddenly, the witch coughs up blood, and her son asks his mother not to exert herself so much. With a smile, the woman says she's fine, and that she's now getting very curious about the situation. With a wicked look, she wonders what Inez's face will be like when her son is finished by her. The demon prince then returns the question, saying he wants to see her face when her children fall. Annoyed by the response, the witch calls for her children and asks who will bring her the arrogant one's tongue. The scene then focuses on a large, spiked weapon that glows with a dark, purple energy. With the weapon in hand, the witch's son says it will obviously be him and tells his mother to wait. Beside him, the witch's daughter also prepares for the fight with a purple energy staff in her hands. The boy then shouts for his sister to get out of the way because his weapon is more than enough to silence the protagonist. The scene then shows the beginning of the fight with the two siblings attacking the demon prince at the same time. Luis then defends himself from the girl's attack and tells her brother to stay out of the fight between them. Filled with rage, the boy shouts for his sister to get out of the way because she's hindering him. The girl tells her brother to shut up and just watch her back while she fights the demon. The demon notices their teamwork is not existent and that he will use this to his advantage. With a smile, he says that before they finish him, the two will destroy each other first. At this, the boy screams in terror as his sister nearly hits him with one of her powerful attacks. He thinks the two are interfering with each other's attacks and are the perfect pair to be separated. With that, the fight continues and his red sword clashes with the girl's weapon with great force. The demon prince then focuses his attack on the girl, who defends herself with her purple energy staff. Taking advantage of the distraction, the brother attempts an attack, but his weapon is blocked by the demon's sword. Outraged by the block, the boy shouts in anger and prepares to attack the protagonist again. The sister also gets annoyed with the situation and seems very frustrated with the ongoing fight. With a powerful blow, the girl manages to push the demon back, who groans from the force. He thinks that even with mixed blood, they have decent power and wonders what Mara did. The boy shouts that it serves his sister right and that he will be the first to tear out the demon's tongue. With that, the young man's attack hits the demon prince squarely, who screams from the impact. But the sister says that she will be the only one to take the protagonist's head to their mother. Without giving him time to breathe, the girl charges and lands a powerful blow on the demon, who retreats. The young woman is then surprised because the boy managed to dodge her attack mid-movement. The brother shouts for Ravis to be careful because he was almost finished and should have been taken down by his hand. The scene then shows the intense fight with the three facing off in the middle of the large, dark hall. The purple energy from the siblings' attacks covers the entire area as the battle continues nonstop. With a swift movement, the demon prince manages to block the girl's attack with his sword. Filled with rage, the young woman continues the attack and shouts for the protagonist to be finished off. The boy then manages to dodge the blow with an agile movement and prepares for a counter-attack. He thinks he doesn't have enough mana for both, but decides to taunt them anyway to buy time. Annoyed, the boy shouts and asks who the demon is calling his sister, because he was born 18 minutes earlier. Filled with rage, the young man charges with everything he has and shouts that he will finish the protagonist. The demon prince then wonders in shock if his taunting plan worked that well. In his fury, the boy ends up missing the target and hits his own sister with a powerful attack. Angrily, the girl calls him an idiot and asks what he was thinking, charging in like that. He tells his sister to shut up and says he will be the first to take the wretch's body to their mother. The demon notices the boy's attacks are getting cruder and that he is finally taking action. With his opponent within reach, he prepares for the attack. Meanwhile, Street fights with Mara and says she is disappointed with the witch's greed. Outraged, Mara shouts and asks how they dare to call her grotesque, being an inferior beast. The servant is hit but shouts for Lord Xian to act now. The bespectacled friend then runs towards Manhwa, who is lying on the hall floor. He then places his hands on the magic circle and tries to use his power to break it. With that, the boy feels a strange pain and wonders if that is hot or very cold. Grinding his teeth, he continues trying to break the spell that holds the young girl. With her eyes closed, Minna remains unconscious, and Limshan pleads for her to wake up. Just then, the fight continues, and the servant charges at the witch with everything she has to distract her. The blue-haired girl says she will hold on and tells Xian to hurry and save Lady Minna. But suddenly, the magic circle throws him backward with incredible and unexpected force. With his hands bleeding, the boy gasps in pain from the power of the spell that hit him. He then feels useless and thinks that as a human, there is nothing he can do. A memory surfaces, showing the three friends together and happy on a normal school day. With tears in his eyes, the young man with glasses clenches his fist with great anger and determination. He then shouts that he will not give up, and that they will save Minha no matter what. And with all his strength, the boy lands a powerful punch on the magic circle in front of him. At this, the blue-haired servant screams in pain as she is hit by the witch Mara's tentacles. The witch then tells the girl it's time to stop this game of a poorly made beast. Street thinks that even with a rotten body, she still attacks and that this is the power of the 12 seats. Mara scoffs and asks if she really thought she could do anything just because of her appearance. With a powerful attack, the witch throws the young demoness backward with great force and violence. The servant is then pinned to the wall by energy spikes and screams in pain. With a wicked smile, Mara tells Xian to watch closely the end that this worm will have now. Terrified, the girl shouts for Lord Xian to flee that place as fast as he can. The bespectacled friend is then completely shocked and speechless by the scene before him. Suddenly, a blue goo hits him squarely and pins him to the ground so he can't move. With a smile, Mara says she will use him as nourishment along with the other guy who is fighting. Trapped in the goo, the boy complains that his body can't move and that he's completely stuck. Mara complains she wasted too much time because of them and approaches Minna for the ritual. With a crazy smile, she begins to recite a dark spell for the possession ritual. With that, Minna's eyes glow, and the witch declares that her pact is now complete. Seeing the scene, Lewis realizes the situation has become very bad and that he needs to act fast. The demon prince's sword then glows with a strong red and very powerful energy. With a determined look, the young man prepares to end the fight against the two siblings. He then charges, but the two attack him together, and he groans in pain from the impact. With the siblings' combined attack, the protagonist is thrown backward with great force. The girl then stops her brother from advancing, and he shouts that he will be the one to attack first. Suddenly, the boy's chains wrap around him, and he is confused by the situation. The chains then tighten around him, and he wonders what the heck is happening there. Just then, a ribbon appears out of nowhere and covers the boy's mouth, preventing him from speaking. Gagged, the young man is then dragged away from the fight, completely unresponsive. And it's revealed that the one who caught him was a new demon, who tells him not to intimidate his dear Ravis. Meanwhile, the witch Mara's spirit finally begins to leave her old, rotten body. The blue goo then advances towards Minha to be able to enter the young woman's new body. With that, the witch's spirit fully enters the girl's body for the possession ritual. And with the possession complete, the young Minna is left unconscious on the floor of the large, dark hall. The scene then focuses on the girl's face, which looks completely lifeless after the possession. With a wicked laugh, the witch celebrates that she has finally obtained the perfect vessel. Beside her, the demoness's old body is now lying on the floor, completely lifeless. With her new hands, the witch admires the feeling of having a new, fresh body. With a crazy smile, she says that's exactly it and she will enjoy this beauty forever. Seeing the scene, the bespectacled friend desperately shouts, "No," upon seeing what happened. The blue-haired servant also screams in terror, calling Minna's name, completely shocked. Louis asks where the girl is looking as he blocks her attack with his sword. Filled with rage, the demon curses, realizing he was too late to stop the ritual. Hidden, the new demon praises Ravis's appearance, calling him very attractive and handsome. Not paying attention to the fight, the demon prince ends up being hit by the girl's blow. The new demon then despairs and scolds himself because his brother is in danger. The new demon then hesitates because if he joins the fight, his brother Ravis will end up seeing him. He gets very embarrassed just thinking about it, but knows he can't just stand by and watch. Meanwhile, the blue-haired brother remains on the floor, gagged and unable to move. The boy struggles, trying to free himself while the new demon remains hidden in the shadows. His sister then gets confused and wonders who did that to her brother Han-Soo. Seeing the distraction, Louis takes the opportunity and charges to attack the girl with everything he has. He then attacks her, and she shouts to her mother that the idiot Han-Soo is getting in her way. Suddenly, the possessed young woman seems very confused by the situation happening there. In Minna's voice, the witch asks her daughter what she is doing at that moment. On the floor, the blue-haired boy groans in pain after being attacked by his own sister. Mara traps him with a tentacle and complains that the brat appeared out of nowhere to hinder her. She then shows off to her son, who asks if she succeeded, and he calls her ugly. The bespectacled friend realizes she has taken Minha's body and despairs at the situation. But the servant shouts that there is still a chance because Minha's soul has not completely disappeared. Hearing this, the demon prince is surprised and wonders if that is really true. The girl explains that it's the moonless night and the border between the worlds is unstable right now. She says Mara's ritual is not complete and Minha's soul still exists in the body. With this revelation, the possessed young woman is shocked and breathless at the possibility of failure. Suddenly, Minha's soul speaks and says her body is moving on its own and asks to be saved. Shocked by the voice, the demon wonders if that is really the soul of young Minha. But Mara regains control and with a wicked laugh, seems to be having a lot of fun. With a smile, she asks what he thought and if she doesn't look a lot like Minha now. Filled with rage, the demon grinds his teeth and asks how she dares to mock him like that. Tired of the fight, the witch tells her children she is tired and orders them to finish everyone. The boy then frees himself and says he will finish everyone and find the rat from before to finish it. The demon prince defends himself and can't believe he is suffering such humiliation from hybrids. He then faces the group and asks if they have been waiting long and if he should have a meal. Seeing the scene, the blue-haired servant just stares at him with an expression of pure determination. The witch then turns to the bespectacled friend and asks who she should devour first. Suddenly, a small purple sphere falls to the ground and begins to glow with a strange energy. Mara notices the purple sphere and is confused by the object. Suddenly, the sphere opens and reveals a small creature with bat wings and red eyes. The creature then flies up with a red aura enveloping it completely in the hall. Shocked by the appearance, the witch shouts and asks what the heck that thing is. The demon prince is also shocked and wonders what that thing that suddenly appeared is. Mara complains about the stench, and the creature envelopes her in a dense, red smoke. At that moment, the new demon takes advantage of the distraction to land a blow on the blue-haired servant. The girl screams in pain from the attack, and the boy continues the blow with great force. The servant wonders what that is and realizes the boy put something in her hand with the blow. With a determined look, the young demoness realizes the boy gave her a pair of metal claws. He then tells her to use them, and the girl recognizes him as Jin Jae-hee, the demon from before. Meanwhile, the bespectacled friend remains trapped in the goo and groans in pain. The black-haired demon then tells the human to use that help his brother in the fight. Terrified by the approach, the bespectacled friend screams and recognizes him as one of the demons. Street, now with the claws, wonders if that is a modified weapon with demonic power. The bespectacled friend stares at the weapon and wonders what it is and why Jae-hee gave it to him. With the weapon in hand, the young man with glasses seems very confused by the situation. Suddenly, the weapon glows and a pink energy envelops him completely, surprising the boy. With the energy enveloping him, he feels his head strange and his heart race uncontrollably. In his eye, a pink light glows, and the young man feels as if he is about to suffocate. Mara asks where he got that trash and what he is trying to do with it. Just then, the blue-haired servant charges and lands a powerful blow on the witch with her new claws. The witch scoffs at her new toy, and the girl says you never know until you really try. Mara says the result is obvious and calls her a low-level beast discarded by everyone. The servant shouts that a person who threw themselves away for greed has no right to speak like that. The girl then steps on the witch's blue goo, which spreads across the large hall floor. Mara realizes it wasn't a simple toy, and the servant continues the attack with her claws. The witch then says it doesn't matter, and that she will devour the girl anyway. But the young woman notices the tentacles are thicker and that she can't cut them. She then understands Mara is adapting to the body and the situation is getting worse. Han Yang advances with a maniacal smile and wonders what this new prey will taste like. Seeing this, Street is completely shocked and speechless by the girl's attitude. She then notices the dark umbilical cord connected to Yongju's original body. The servant understands that Min, who is a human and cannot accept all of Mara's power at once. Yongju's original body is inside a magic circle to protect it during the transfer. With that, the fight continues, and the witch's daughter attacks Street with everything she has. Street thinks she needs to cut the cord connected to the body and break the magic circle. Meanwhile, Lim-san recovers and his breathing finally begins to stabilize. He then looks at the weapon he received and wonders what he should do with it now. The bespectacled friend is confused by the scene of the body in the circle and Louis's fight with Han Yang. With his eyes glowing, he asks if the tentacles are connected to Yongju's body. The boy then realizes the transfer to Min, whose body has not yet been completed. That magic circle served to protect the original body until the transfer was complete. With this, he realizes there is still a chance if he can destroy the magic circle. His eyes glow with a pink energy, and he seems to have a plan in mind. Suddenly, he can see the structure of the circle and understands that magic circles are geometry. He thinks that geometry is shapes and that they can be converted into mathematical equations. The boy understands the circle maintains the connection and needs to solve the equation to find the weak point. With that, the young man begins to write a magic formula in the air with his glowing index finger. He then confirms the barrier's formula and decides he will differentiate to find the seal's core. Street is shocked and wonders if Lim-shan is really deciphering the magic formula at that moment. As she fights, she wonders if he can analyze the magic because of the weapon Jin-jae he gave him. Filled with rage, Han Yang charges and shouts for the little rat to come to her for combat. Hit by the blow, the servant thinks she needs to buy as much time as possible for Cheyenne. The bespectacled friend then converts the magic circle's structure into a complex matrix form. With sweat on his face, he thinks that when he finds the eigenvalue, there will be only one weakness. With a crazy smile, he finally finds the answer and exposes the spell's critical point. The boy then points the weapon at the magic circle and aims at its local minimum point to attack. Shouting for its total destruction, he fires the weapon with all the strength he has. And a beam of pink energy is fired from the weapon towards the magic circle to destroy it. The energy beam hits the magic circle squarely and causes a large explosion of pink light. With the impact, the barrier shatters into 1,000 pieces and the energy dissipates. Completely shocked by the scene, Han Yang screams, unable to believe what just happened. The bespectacled friend is thrown backward by the force of the explosion and screams in pain. Terrified, the witch's daughter shouts and asks how he managed to break her magic circle. Lying on the floor, the boy laughs and says he did the math and the equation was finally proven. Beside him, the weapon he used glows with a pink energy after the powerful shot. Completely exhausted, the young man with glasses says the magic circle has finally collapsed. Filled with rage, Han Yang calls them primitive pests because her body has not yet crossed over. At that moment, Street appears and praises Cyan, saying she is now taking control. The witch's daughter despairs and asks what she is trying to do as the servant runs. With her new claws, the young demoness charges and attacks Yongju's original body with everything she has. The brutal attack continues with the servant, trying to destroy the body to cut the connection for good. With the attack, Han Yang screams in pain as if she herself were being hit. But with a powerful blow, the blue-haired girl is thrown backward with great force and violence. Lying on the floor, the servant coughs heavily from the impact of the surprise attack. Han Yang says she can't let everything go to waste in such a pathetic and meaningless way. Angrily, the young woman swears she will not lose a single piece of her noble body to them. Lying down, the servant says that greed grows but breaks under its own weight and that filthy things cling. Outraged, Han Yang calls her an inferior beast and swears she will crush her bones right there. With a smile, the blue-haired girl says that her greed will burn along with everything else. Suddenly, Louis appears holding the heads of Mara's children, and the girl is terrified. The boy apologizes to his mother and says Ravis absorbed the red smoke and became stronger. Shocked, the girl thinks it's not possible and that the smoke from before was indeed a catalyst. A memory then reveals the black-haired demon finding him very cute and attractive. The scene then shows the demon extracting blood from Ravis's body in the demon realm. The creature says it extracted the blood from Brother Ravis's body, which was trapped in the demon realm. He then says he planned to keep it forever, but that now he had no other choice. With the syringe in hand, he reveals that Brother Ravis said Bambi told him everything about the plan. And with that, he reveals that special demonic bloodstones were embedded in his new body. Hidden, the boy says if he absorbs the blood from the original body, he will regain his true power. The brother then asks Ravis to accept his gift and become enraged as before, and he feels the power. Hanyang shouts in anger and calls her brothers useless because the two of them can't handle him. With his new strength, the demon prince grabs Han Su by the collar, who shouts in surprise. He then grabs the boy's sister by the neck with an energy whip and chokes her forcefully. The two siblings then growl in anger with their eyes glowing as they are held by the demon. The protagonist then holds them with ease and prepares to end the fight once and for all. Han Su thanks his mother and swears that now he will really finish the protagonist. His sister also prepares for the attack and shouts for the young demon to drop at once. But the boy manages to block both attacks at the same time with his dark and powerful energy. Han Yang calls him a prince and asks why he risks his life for a simple human. She continues, saying the young woman isn't even his real sister, and that she's not worth fighting for. With a smile, the demon just says the cake she gave him was delicious. With a wicked smile and horns emerging, the boy charges at the two siblings with everything he has. Shocked by the response, the girl is confused and asks what he means by that. He explains the cake didn't taste like the human world but rather like the celestial realm. Han Su shouts that he is a demon and asks why the heck he is talking about the celestial realm. The prince then asks if the two of them have ever fed each other cake in their lives. The girl shouts that he's crazy and that she would only throw the cake in that wretch's face. With a smile, the demon asks if that's really true and charges to attack the girl with his whip. The blow hits the young woman's neck squarely, and she calves from the impact. With a cold look, the protagonist stares at her with blood splatters on his face after the attack. The demon then licks the blood that ran down his face with a satisfied and wicked smile. The scene then focuses on the girl's eye, which is completely terrified by the scene. A memory surfaces, showing the young woman with 100 points on her test to impress her mother. The mother tells him to shut up and drink water if they're hungry, calling them useless. With that, the woman leaves the house and leaves the two children alone and hungry. The two siblings just remain silent with an expression of pure sadness on their faces. The scene shows the torn test papers on the living room floor after their mother's rejection. The young woman then sees her brother fallen from hunger and realizes that nothing could win their mother's praise. The scene then shifts to the front of a coffee shop called Keflala on a sunny day. In the memory, a woman laughs while a man complains about her fake and very annoying smile. Little Han Yang asks her mother if she doesn't like the other young woman sitting there. With a determined look, the young woman seems to be plotting something at that exact moment. She then gets up and walks towards the woman her mother was watching before the commotion. With quick steps, the little girl runs to execute her plan somehow in the coffee shop. The young girl then bumps into the woman on purpose and spills the drink on her clothes, and she screams. Everyone in the coffee shop is startled by the scene, and the children's mother watches from a distance. The mother then approaches, and the little girl apologizes, saying she will buy new clothes for her. With that, the woman takes the two children and warns that they need to leave right now. Outside, she wonders what she should do with the two children at that moment. With a wicked smile on her face, the woman seems to have really liked her daughter's attitude. She then praises her daughter, saying she did very well and she could burst with pride. With her eyes shining, the young woman is happy because her mother finally praised her for something. Seeing the scene, the brother asks to do the same next time, and the mother agrees. The mother gives a wicked smile, and the young woman thinks that if she bullies who her mother hates, she will praise her. With this, the young woman grows up and prepares to attack a person her mother hates very much. With her mother by her side, the girl thinks happily that she praises her for her cruel actions. The mother then praises her and asks if she will listen to everything she says from now on. With her blade covered in blood, the girl just nods her head without hesitating. She then finishes the victim and thinks she will do what her mother says without question. The mother praises her and asks if next time she can finish the person again, and she agrees. With her mother's hand on her face, the young woman thinks she will finish whoever she's told to without mercy. Embraced by her mother, the girl thinks she is finally giving her the love she wanted so much. With her eyes closed, the young woman seems to be completely at peace with the whole situation. Back in the present, the demon says with disgust that she really raised the children very well. Annoyed by the mockery, the girl charges and shouts for the protagonist to drop at once. Her brother also attacks with everything he has and shouts that he will be the one to finish the demon. Han Yang, who is in Minho's body, shouts for them to hurry up and finish him soon. With a red energy blade, the demon says that this is the appearance of a real demon. With his red energy blade, he acknowledges they are demons with the value and qualification to fight. And because of that, the demon prince says they are worthy of being finished by his own hands. Shocked by the declaration, the girl realizes the protagonist's eyes have completely changed. With an expression of pure panic, she wonders what that means for their fight. The young woman then compares him to the dreaded beast of the battlefield that everyone in the kingdom knows. With a determined look, the demon remembers the name Barkan as he prepares for combat. The girl then shouts at her brother, whose arm was injured, calling him an idiot for not being careful. But the demon scoffs, saying she really cares because he is her brother, and attacks her with everything. Filled with rage, the boy blames his sister for everything and shouts that she should have done her job right. Annoyed by the accusation, the young woman turns to her brother and asks what he just said. He then shouts for her to finish him, or he will finish her first without a second thought. With a wicked smile, Lewis tells them to keep fighting and calls them fools for their attitude. With great anger in her eyes, the girl seems to have made up her mind and prepares to attack her own brother. Shocked by his sister's attitude, the boy can only let out a not understanding. With a swift movement, the young woman charges with her weapon and prepares to attack her brother. And without mercy, the girl lands a devastating blow on the boy, who is unable to defend. Lying on the floor, the young man screams in pain from the serious wound he just received. With his hand on the wound, he continues to scream that it hurts a lot and that he can't bear the pain. Defeated on the floor, the boy desperately calls for his mother as his life slowly fades. The witch shouts that he is useless and tells her daughter to forget him and continue fighting. With a cold look, the young woman nods and says yes to her mother, who is watching. Lying down, the boy pleads not to be thrown away like that, because he can still be useful. And with his last strength, the young man continues to call for his mother before passing out. The witch then shouts for him to drop and stop the useless fight, because he is no longer good for anything. With this, the demon defends himself from the witch's attacks as she now charges at him. He then thinks that he took care of one, but that Mara's physical form is almost fully manifested. And if he wastes any more time, young Minho will not be able to return to her body. With his eyes glowing, he doesn't know how much more his body can take but decides to fight. With his hand clenched and bleeding, the boy says it's time to risk everything in this final battle. And with his energy whip, he charges and attacks the witch's tentacles with all his strength. With a quick blow, the demon hits the witch's daughter squarely, who is unable to defend. He then grabs the young woman's head forcefully as she groans in pain from the powerful attack. And without mercy, the demon prince bites her on the neck, and the girl screams. With his eyes glowing red, he sucks the girl's blood to increase his power. Shocked by the scene, the witch shouts and asks what the heck is happening to her daughter. The young woman then becomes completely weak, and the demon holds her with a look of pure evil. He throws her to the ground and thinks he will absorb as much blood as that body can handle. With that, the boy intends to amplify all his power at once for the final fight. A pink energy then explodes from his body as he prepares for the next phase. Terrified, the witch shouts for him to stay away and calls him a wretch with her tentacles. But the demon charges with everything and cuts the witch's tentacles with ease and precision. The witch can't believe it and wonders why that wretch just doesn't drop for good. With his new strength, the demon prince continues the attack and charges at the witch. But he feels his body is falling apart and the vessel can no longer handle more power. With veins popping in his hand, the young man feels he is about to be torn to pieces. Even with the pain, the demon continues the attack and charges at the witch Mara's tentacles. The witch is terrified by the speed and strength of the attacks he unleashes against her. With a powerful blow, the demon prince manages to hit the witch squarely with his sword. She shouts that he will ruin everything at the finish line and calls him a worthless wretch. Suddenly, the demon appears behind the witch and grabs her forcefully by the hair with a cold look. With a blow, he throws her to the ground hard, and the woman coughs from the impact. He then grabs her by the neck, and the witch screams, asking who he thinks he is to dare. With a cold look, the boy says it's over and that her disgusting life ends right there. The witch shouts that she can't be finished and won't be taken down by someone like him. The demon then gives her one last warning: leave Minha's body and he will let her live. Shocked by the offer, the witch asks in disbelief if he will really let her live. He then swears on the honor of his father, the great demon king, and his demonic form appears behind him. With a smile, the witch realizes he is worried that she will self-destruct with the body. She says it's a shame to lose the body, but she can find another as long as she stays alive. With a wicked smile, the witch says the demon king's bloodline would not lie and tells him to drop the sword. The witch says if he does that, she will do as he wishes because she doesn't have much choice. With his blood-covered sword, the demon seems to be considering the woman's proposal. Then, without hesitation, the demon prince drops the weapon, which falls from his bloody hand. With the young woman fallen, the protagonist stares at her with a cold look and tells her to get out. Annoyed, the witch then agrees to the boy's request with her hands still transformed and strange. But suddenly, she gives a wicked smile and prepares to do something unexpected. The creature then leaves the body and shouts that it's leaving, calling him a complete idiot for believing her. But the demon prince just gives a wicked smile because he was already expecting that betrayal. With that, his hand transforms into a demonic claw and he prepares for the surprise attack. And with a swift movement, the boy grabs the creature, which screams in surprise at the force. The creature then screams and wonders what that is because that arm is not a human's. He smiles and says she is knave for one of the 12 seats, and he didn't know how to get her out. Completely shocked by the revelation, the witch is speechless and terrified. She then shouts that it was all a lie, and that he gambled his family's and his father's honor. But the demon replies that he only cares about maintaining his own honor and squeezes her tightly. The creature screams in pain and says it doesn't want to leave that body because it belongs to her. With a satisfied smile, the young man says she is a very unpleasant sight for him at that moment. With the spirit being torn out, young Minna has an expression of pure panic on her face. With that, the girl finally passes out and falls to the hall floor, completely powerless. With the witch in his hands, the demon holds her tightly as she screams desperately for help. The creature then pleads for him to wait and save her and promises she will do whatever he commands. With her face full of tears, the witch continues to plead for her life with great fear. But suddenly, the witch's daughter prepares to attack him from behind while he just smiles. The witch then gets excited and tells her daughter to finish that wretch right now without mercy. With her weapon in hand, the young woman prepares to land a fatal blow on the demon prince. But the boy notices the attack and turns a little to prepare for the ambush. Suddenly, the brother appears and attacks her from behind, and she asks if he wants all the praise again. With a cold look, the boy says that he will not allow her to do that. With the blow, the young woman groans in pain and spits from the impact of the blade on her weak body. And with that, the two siblings fall to the hall floor, completely defeated by each other. The creature shouts that he is a wretch and asks if he is wasting his last chance. The demon says she kept calling for her mother, but ended up going out in a pathetic way. She then pleads for him not to finish her and promises she won't touch the girl, and that they were sisters. Desperate, the witch shouts that it's true and his mother used to call her Oni, and was good to her. Street asks if she is really his mother because even with her children passing, she only thought of herself. With her body being destroyed, the witch shouts for Ravis to listen to her, because he can have more of that. The creature then groans in pain as the demon prince continues to absorb it without mercy. With a cold look, he calls her a disgrace to the reputation of an old black seat. Lying on the floor and disintegrating, the creature groans one last time before being completely defeated. Filled with rage, she shouts the name of Ravis Bindika for making her go through that humiliation. The witch continues to shout that of all people, it was at the hands of that wretch Inez's son. With a final scream of hatred, she swears she doesn't accept this and that she will finish him with her hands. But suddenly, a foot approaches and prepares to step on the creature on the hall floor. And with a stomp, the demon prince finally finishes the witch's spirit once and for all. With the fight over, the boy just remains silent for a moment, processing what happened. At this, a blue energy begins to rise from the remains of the creature that was defeated. The energy then flows towards the demon and enters directly into his left eye with force. With his head back, the young man absorbs all the energy of the witch he just defeated. A close-up is given to his eye, which glows with a pink energy as the power invades him. With the absorption complete, he says he finally managed to dream of what he had been waiting for. The blue-haired servant then congratulates him and says he finally succeeded in the end. He boasts, saying he is an old black seat and that his power is overflowing right now. But suddenly, the demon prince seems to feel something strange in his transformed hand. With an expression of pain, the boy then grabs his arm forcefully because of the new power. He complains about the vulgar and disgusting stench and says she made him waste his time. The servant asks about the twins and if they would have lived happily if Mara hadn't gone to the human world. The scene then focuses on the bodies of the two siblings, now lying lifeless on the hall floor. With a cold look, the protagonist replies that they can't know what would have happened in the end. He continues, saying that even if the parents are not demons, children can be lost to greed. And with that thought, the scene focuses on the face of Minna's stepfather, the city's mayoral candidate. The new demon then hesitates, because if he joins the fight, his brother Ravis will end up seeing him. He gets very embarrassed just thinking about it, but knows he can't just stand by and watch. Meanwhile, the blue-haired brother remains on the floor, gagged and unable to move. The boy struggles, trying to free himself while the new demon remains hidden in the shadows. His sister then gets confused and wonders who did that to her brother Han, Sue. Seeing the distraction, Louis takes the opportunity and charges to attack the girl with everything. He then attacks her, and she shouts to her mother that the idiot Han, Sue, is getting in her way. Suddenly, the possessed young woman seems very confused by the situation happening there. In Minha's voice, the witch asks her daughter what she is doing at that moment. On the floor, the blue-haired boy groans in pain after being attacked by his own sister. Mar traps him with a tentacle and complains that the brat appeared out of nowhere to hinder her. She then shows off to her son, who asks if she succeeded, and he calls her ugly. The bespectacled friend realizes she has taken Minha's body and despairs at the situation. But the servant shouts that there is still a chance because Minha's soul has not completely disappeared.